everybody! Welcome back to the Blind Press YouTube channel, Twitch channel, X channel, and Kick channel. I hope you guys are having a good time, having a good day, and are ready to get into some insanity. It's... I don't stream for 2 days and still more crazy shit goes down. So we are here to get into the nuts and bolts of all the insanity. I did a video yesterday about Hasan being under investigation, and by Homeland Security. He had his global entry point access revoked, and for those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically a way to bypass the security check. So basically, and the reason they gave was he didn't meet the requirements because perhaps he was engaged in or supporting terrorists. Interesting, right? But he's a wholesome dude, according to the people who comment on my YouTube videos that brigade me from Hasan's channel, which is really funny because my YouTube channel's only got like 1,500 subs, and it's insane how even a tiny creator can call out Hasan, and it's just nuts. They brigade everybody who doesn't agree with their Lord God Hasan. So yeah, it's interesting. It's very, very interesting, and there is more to cover on top of that. The riots are into New York, and we've got some other stuff that doesn't have anything to do with the riots, just to break up the monotony, right? So I think we're gonna have a fun day. We're gonna be here for a few hours. I've got my coffee. I hope you guys have your coffees or your teas or whatever you're drinking. And we're gonna sit and have a good time. It's a wonderful day. It's nice and sunny and not too hot, not too cold. It's a good day. So yeah, and I'm sitting here in my comfy chair. The comfy chair! Oh, I miss Monty Python. I need to watch some more of that. Maybe we'll do a Kick and Twitch stream only where we just sit and watch Monty Python or something. Who knows? But yeah, I've got like 11 tabs open, something like that. Something crazy like that. So yeah, we'll be busy. We will be busy for the rest of the day, probably till about 1:30 or 2 o'clock maybe, if my voice can go that long, because it's still recovering. But we'll see. We will see. So yeah, we're going to move along into our videos in a moment. Like I said, I have quite a few here. And I think what we'll do is we're gonna start with our we're gonna start with some fun just some fun, interesting things just to start it off with. We're not gonna get into the riot stuff just yet. We're gonna hold off of that. We're gonna look at a fun little video called The Entire History of Canada. And I think it'll be interesting. Let me just get to the right area so that you guys can see it. So we're gonna see how this works. It's the entire history of Canada. Let's see. Hopefully it's not boring. If it's boring, we'll skip it. Come on, Chrome. There we go. Alright. Switching to the live scene. Here we go.
Canada, the second largest nation on the planet. Canada, the second largest nation on the planet.
Yep.
Comprising some 3.8 million square miles and spanning 6 time zones,
Yep.
Canada's territory is so vast that it encompasses numerous climates, from the towering peaks of the Rocky Mountains and the flat expanses of the prairies, to the temperate rainforests of the Pacific Northwest and the frozen tundras of the Arctic Circle.
That's why I'm like, when Americans are like, we're gonna invade Canada, it's like, bitch, good fucking luck.
However, this diversity is not limited to its geography.
Nope.
It is also reflected in its people. Over the course of centuries and millennia, Canada has been shaped by individuals from all over the world, bringing with them a wide range of cultures, languages, and religions. Although these differences sometimes led to conflict, they more often fostered mutual understanding and cooperation.
Yeah, because we're a cultural mosaic. That's what our country is defined as. We're not a melting pot. We are it's called a cultural mosaic, and we've been able to incorporate values and traditions from many different cultures into our zeitgeist, and we have been able to basically determine or accept the parts of culture that are good and tried to discard the ones that are bad.
As diverse communities came together to build new identities in an entirely new nation. So, how did this country develop? From the arrival of First Nations peoples thousands of years ago to becoming one of the most multicultural and diverse places on Earth today. This is the history of Canada. The story of human habitation in Canada, like that of the entirety of the Americas, begins with the movement of people across the Beringia land bridge that once connected eastern Siberia to western North America.
This is really cool. I wish we had been able to learn this way about the explorers and stuff in school, because this is fascinating.
Around 16,000 years ago.
Yeah.
Over the following millennia, this land bridge gradually disappeared as global sea levels rose with the melting of the glaciers that had once covered much of the Earth's surface during the last ice age, around 11,000 years ago, thereby permanently cutting off North America from Asia. The retreat of the ice sheets allowed these early humans to move southward and begin to populate the land that would one day become Canada. Over the subsequent generations, Indigenous peoples began to form complex societies and speak a variety of First Nations languages.
It's almost like the First Nations peoples had, as he just said, complex societies, wars between each other. It's almost like humans have been moving around and conquering and colonizing different parts of the earth for years,
which varied from region to region. Much of the eastern portion of the country became home to the Algonquian and Iroquoian peoples, who ranged all the way from Hudson Bay in the north to the Atlantic seaboard of the modern United States in the south. On the central Great Plains emerged the closely related Cree-speaking peoples, who tended to migrate from place to place as nomads, following the vast herds of bison that roamed across the prairies. The western portion of the country was home to the Nadene and Salesian-speaking peoples, whose livelihood was sustained by the abundant salmon stocks of the region, as well as the great cedar trees, which they used for building homes, canoes, and totem poles. Meanwhile, in the frozen far north of the country emerged the distinct Inuit people, who ranged across the Arctic archipelago all the way from Alaska to Greenland. Unlike the rest of the Americas, however, which dates the discovery of the continent by Europeans to the arrival of Christopher Columbus in 1492. Canada is unique in that it predates this event by almost 500 years.
Yeah, because the Vikings found it. Good old Leaf.
Sometime during the early 11th century, the Vikings, who had already explored and settled in Iceland and parts of Greenland, began to venture further westward toward the coast of North America. Leif Erikson is now considered to have been the first European to set foot on the continent, parts of which he named Helluland and Markland, most likely corresponding to what is now Baffin Island and the coast of Labrador. Erikson continued to explore the coastline further south and went on to establish the first known European settlement in the whole of the Americas, possibly at the site of what is now Lanceau Meadows in...
I would love to go see Lanceau Meadows. I have been fascinated with Lanceau Meadows since I learned about it when I was in school. It just fascinates me. I have always wanted to go up to Newfoundland to see Lanceau Meadows.
In Newfoundland. The Vikings named this area Vinland, and the settlement itself served as a base of operations for further exploratory voyages up and down the coast, where at some point the first contact between Europeans and Native Americans, whom the Vikings called Skraelings, was made.
Skraeling.
The immense distance between the Norse colonies in North America and their Scandinavian homelands meant that communication was often a long, slow, drawn-out process. However, if you've ever found yourself abroad and in need of staying connected, only to be limited by your mobile network's roaming plan where Android the North American continent's existed, named Giovanni Caboto, just 5 European knowledge, gradual withdrawal would ultimately be a short-lived the on-screen instructions to install and activate your plan.
Here we go.
Download the Saley app or go to saley.com/thisishistory, where you can get an exclusive 15% discount on data plans using the code ThisIsHistory at checkout. The Norse presence in North America would ultimately be a short-lived one, for their settlement at Lanceau Meadows appears to have been deliberately abandoned by the 12th century.
Interesting.
This was followed by the gradual withdrawal from their other settlements in Greenland over the succeeding generations. Awareness of the North American continent's existence subsequently faded from European knowledge with the departure of the Vikings, and it would only become known again some 500 years later.
Oh wow.
In 1497, just 5 years after the Italian explorer Christopher Columbus's discovery of the Caribbean and Central America, another Italian explorer named Giovanni Caboto, better known as John Cabot, who was in the employ of the English crown, became the first European since the Norse to once again lay eyes on the coast of North America.
I learned about John Cabot in the 6th grade. This is like a really cool memory unlock for me, because this is all the stuff that I remember learning in the 6th grade, and this was really fascinating stuff for me. This was really cool.
Subsequent voyages to the region were made by English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese explorers during the early 16th century. Despite these powers laying competing claims to the territory in one form or another, none of these claims were backed by permanent settlements or colonies. It was only in 1534 that the French explorer Jacques Cartier made a foray into the Gulf of St. Lawrence and claimed the territory on behalf of France, naming it after the local Native American word for settlement, Canada. His 2 subsequent voyages to the region saw him venture further down the St. Lawrence River and construct the first French settlements. Although all of these ended in failure, his efforts nevertheless put Canada on the map as a prospective and potentially lucrative colony.
That's why there are still like Jacques Cartier landmarks around Canada to this day.
By the turn of the 17th century, only a handful of determined European fishermen and fur traders continued to frequent Canada's shores. However, in 1603, the Frenchman Samuel de Champlain began undertaking a series of expeditions to explore and map the territory in greater detail.
Gross old man who married a 12-year-old.
He identified sites for permanent French settlements, establishing Port Royal in Nova Scotia in 1605, as well as founding the city of Quebec in 1608, which would later become the capital of the entire territory of New France. Champlain also explored deep into the interior of Canada, becoming the first known European to lay eyes on the Great Lakes and to establish relations with the First Nations peoples of the region. As a result of his efforts, a slow but steady trickle of immigrants began to arrive in New France's colonial settlements, which by the mid-17th century amounted to a population of little over 3,000 people.
Oh, wow.
However, the French were not the only Europeans to have established settlements by this time.
Nope, the British
The English, led by Humphrey Gilbert, had claimed sovereignty over St. John's in Newfoundland back in 1583. This was followed almost a century later, in 1670, by the establishment of the Hudson's Bay Company.
Good old HBC, which is now going to shit, sadly.
Which operated a series of fur trading posts and forts across an immense swathe of northern Canada, known as Rupert's Land. This was designed to compete with the French fur traders further to the south. So much so that by the beginning of the 18th century, what is now Canada and the United States had effectively been divided into two European spheres of influence.
Yep.
One French, encompassing the St. Lawrence River,
Very
the Great
true.
Lakes, and extending down the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico, and the other British, which controlled the area around Hudson Bay, as well as practically the entire eastern seaboard of the North American continent, stretching all the way from Georgia to Newfoundland.
Yeah, big frickin' swath of land. They both owned a shit ton of land, and it was crazy. The fighting. Good morning. Welcome to the stream. And also, if you're over on Kick, welcome to the show. I am Blind Press. I have running this on my computer with a screen reader. And I will check chat over there in a moment.
As a result of the competing colonial interests between the two powers, conflict over territory and resources was almost
7
inevitable.
Years' War broke out.
From the late 17th to the mid-18th century, several wars between the French and British broke out, which saw the boundaries and possessions of their respective North American empires shift back and forth. It was only with the outbreak of the French and Indian War in 1754 that the most significant and lasting territorial change in Canada's history would take place. This regional conflict was part of the wider 7 Years' War, which was fought around the world and pitted a host of European powers, including...
Yeah, it technically should have been the First World War if you really think about it, because it was fought via two different countries, like on a global scale, and the indigenous people got involved. Like, it technically should have been deemed the First World War.
Including France and Britain, along with their overseas colonies, against one another.
Yep.
In North America, this played out as a struggle between the colony of New France and the British 13 colonies, along with their Canadian provinces. Despite gaining the upper hand early in the war, the French gradually began to lose ground.
They got
First in Nova Scotia,
at the
where the
Plains of
French-speaking
Abraham,
population,
they got
known as Acadians, was expelled by the British, and then in 1759 came the decisive blow when the heart of New France itself, Quebec, fell to British forces following the Battle of the Plains of Abraham. Other French towns and cities in Canada...
I remember all this shit. I'm so happy. I retained shit. I'm so happy. You're due for a good refresher. Yeah, I'm so happy that I remember all this
Canada
shit.
fell to the British the following year, and by the war's end in 1763, France, having been roundly defeated, formally renounced all claims to territory in mainland North America.
Yeah, they fucking abandoned
Canada
the
then
French
passed
people.
into British rule, which began with attempts to repair relations with the various Native American peoples of the region, many of whom had been forced to take sides in the previous conflict. The British
They
also
used
reinstated most...
The British and the French totally fucking used the shit out of the indigenous people. They're like, oh yes, good, jolly good, you must help us because you're on us.
of the
you
property,
trade with us.
religious, political,
Therefore
and
you're on
social
our
customs
side,
of the
right?
French-speaking population in the Quebec region, allowing them to retain their language and legal traditions, many of which remain in place to this day. However, despite the British government's best efforts to consolidate their territorial gains across North America, trouble was already brewing.
Yup.
Not in their Canadian colonies, but in the American ones. Grievances over taxation and political representation eventually escalated to the point where the American 13 colonies rebelled and began a revolutionary war to rid themselves of British rule. Although some in Canada sympathized with the American revolutionaries, most remained loyal to Britain and supported the war effort.
Very true. And that's why a bunch of loyalists were basically exiled up to Canada during the war, if they weren't killed.
This attracted an invasion, albeit an unsuccessful one, of Quebec by the American Continental Army in 1775.
Good luck with that.
For the remainder of the war, Canada served as a secure base of operations for British troops to conduct their campaigns to the south. The war was finally brought to an end in 1783, with the newly independent United States of America emerging victorious and establishing its borders with what then became the remainder of British North America. These borders were largely built upon the pre-existing outline of the former 13 colonies and were bounded by the St. Lawrence River, the Great Lakes, the Mississippi River, and the 45th and 49th parallels. In that same year, the British also began evacuating their troops from New York City, along with many American loyalists who did not wish to remain in the United States.
Yeah, they immigrated up to Canada. And there was a lot of these things shaped Canada's population as well, because a lot of the loyalists came up here during the Revolutionary War. I'm 65. I have a hard enough time remembering where I put my pills. Dude, I'm 36 and I'm like, did I take my pills? Did I? Yes, no, I don't remember.
Many were transported to Canada, where they formed new communities in Nova Scotia, and helped to establish the entirely new colony of New Brunswick. Some were also settled in Quebec, which in 1791 was divided into the largely French-speaking Lower Canada and the English-speaking Upper Canada, with its capital at York, modern-day Toronto, founded in 1796. Meanwhile, far to the west on the Pacific coast, efforts were underway to bring this region, what would later become part of Canada, under British rule. Although the Spanish were the first European power to explore the region in the mid-1770s, they failed to back up their claims with any lasting settlement. It ultimately fell to the British to assert a lasting influence in the Pacific Northwest, beginning with Captain James Cook, who visited Vancouver Island in 1778 as part of his voyage across the Pacific.
Shit, I didn't know
He established relations with the First Nations tribes of the region and purchased several sea otter pelts from them, which he later sold in China for immense profit.
I bet he did. Frickin' sea otter pelts are...
Thus
very
initiating
sought
what
after.
became known as the China trade across the Pacific Ocean. Although there was a brief moment of crisis in 1789 between Britain and Spain over their competing claims in the region, the British ultimately secured a favourable and peaceful resolution.
Oh, good.
As a result, during the 1790s, further efforts were made to open up the Pacific Northwest to British fur traders. Not only were more maritime expeditions sent to explore the region, such as that of George Vancouver, who arrived in 1792,
And that's where
but
the
overland
Army
missions
came
were
from.
also undertaken. Figures such as Sir Alexander Mackenzie pioneered previously uncharted routes through the Rocky Mountains to reach the Pacific Ocean, which then allowed for the establishment of the first settlements in what would become the territories of Vancouver Island and British Columbia. However, the competing commercial interests of British and American fur traders would lead to the region becoming heavily disputed between the two powers for the decades that followed. With the turn of the 19th century, however, peace between Britain and the United States had begun to show signs of strain. Not only were there territorial disputes as America began its expansion westward, but its trade with Napoleonic France, whom Britain was at war with, caused considerable resentment within the British government in
I
London.
bet it did. You can't trade with Napoleon? That's not fair. That's probably what they were saying. Oh my goodness. That's too funny. Okay.
As a result, trade restrictions were placed on American ships, and the Royal Navy took to press-ganging American sailors on the grounds that they were British deserters. By the year 1812, the Americans had had enough and decided to launch an invasion across their northern border into British Canada. The War of 1812 lasted for the better part of 3 years and was characterized by a series of back-and-forth invasions by both American and British Canadian forces into each other's territory, ultimately without significant result. When the war ended, the border
we burned down the White House
between Canada and the United States remained more or less unchanged, with neither side having made any meaningful gains. To repair relations between the two nations, it was agreed to demilitarize the border between the US and Canada, an arrangement that remains in effect to this day, with the boundary between the two countries being the longest undefended border in the world.
Yeah, I wonder how long that's gonna last. With all the shit that's going on right now, I really wonder how long that's gonna last. Because all of this shit with the riots and with the tariffs and all, like, this is gonna get crazy.
Despite the normalization of relations between the North American neighbors, some in Canada, particularly loyalists and colonial elites, continued to harbor deep anti-American sentiments. This had dramatic consequences some 20 years later, when growing frustration over undemocratic colonial rule inspired some Canadians, partly influenced by American Republican ideals, to turn to armed revolt. The rebellions of 1837 to 1838 saw widespread disturbances across both Upper and Lower Canada, prompting a strong response from government forces who brutally suppressed the uprisings.
Very brutally. The 1837 rebellions are something that is very strongly remembered in French-speaking Canada as a very decisive and brutal treatment by the British.
In the aftermath, a report commissioned by Lord Durham blamed the rebellions on the lack of democratic governance in the region, and strongly recommended enacting a form of responsible government in Canada, allowing the people greater say in how they were ruled. Shortly afterwards, in 1840, both Upper and Lower Canada were merged into a single colony, the United Province of Canada, which set the country on the path towards becoming a self-governing nation. By the mid-19th century, Canada had begun to expand into the geographical shape that we recognize today. The disputed territory between Britain and the United States in the Pacific Northwest had been resolved with the Oregon Treaty in 1846. However, Canada as a whole was not yet a unified political entity, remaining instead a patchwork of separate colonies. During the 1860s, discussions began about uniting these colonies into a single confederation.
Charlottetown Accord of 1864.
And on the 1st of July 1867, the Dominion of Canada was formed as a fully self-governing polity within the British Empire.
A fully self-governing... within the British Empire.
With Ottawa as its
became
capital.
a fully self-governing
Over the course of the
nation.
1870s, the remaining colonies and territories of British North America joined the Dominion. Yet, although the country was now politically united, some within its borders did not wish to be part of the newly formed nation. Amongst the flat expanse of the Canadian prairies lived the Métis, a mixed-race people of joint First Nations and European descent, who fiercely opposed any incursion by Canadian settlers from the east onto the land they had occupied for generations. As a result, a series of violent confrontations occurred between them and government forces, first in the Red River Rebellion of 1869, and later in the Northwest Rebellion of 1885, led by Louis Riel. The Canadian government eventually prevailed and used its victory as impetus to complete the Canadian Pacific Railway, the construction of which had begun in
to hang Louis Riel as a traitor.
mid-1870s. This allowed the government to consolidate control over the vast territory it was now responsible for governing. The last spike was driven in on the 7th of November 1885, and the first transcontinental railway journey across the country was completed in the summer of the following year. The remaining decades of the 19th century saw further Canadian expansion, as the government negotiated treaties with the resident First Nations peoples in a bid to open up more territory for settlement.
And speaking of which, to Alberta separatists, Alberta was not one of the founding provinces that joined the Confederation. Alberta was created by the Dominion of Canada out of Crown land via treaties with the First Nations people. So I don't know how Alberta plans to separate, because the government of Canada and the First Nations people living in Alberta own that land, not the province of Alberta. And also, to leave the Dominion of Canada, there needs to be a Supreme Court decision supporting it, and all the provinces and territories need to ratify. So you can't just separate.
Many reserves were created for the exclusive use of Indigenous peoples, although some were forcibly removed from their land. The government also launched assimilationist programs, such as the residential school system, aimed at extinguishing native languages and cultures among Indigenous children and integrating them into Canadian society. The late 1890s also saw the discovery of gold in the Klondike region of the Yukon Territory in the far north of the country, attracting some 100,000 prospectors. Although few would strike it rich, the influx of activity and development in the region nevertheless helped formalize the last boundary dispute between Canada and the US state of Alaska. With the dawn of the 20th century, Canada had become a well-developed and prosperous nation, attracting a growing number of migrants in search of a better life. Although it had established self-governance over domestic affairs, it remained a part of the British Empire and was consequently drawn into the First World War, which broke out in 1914. Canada contributed immensely to the war effort, not only by providing a lifeline of continuous supplies to Britain across the Atlantic, but also by mobilizing hundreds of thousands of troops who served predominantly on the Western Front, fighting in major engagements such as the Somme, Vimy Ridge, and Passchendaele.
And Ypres.
Support for Britain during the war helped to cement a strong pro-Anglophone Canadian identity. By contrast, however, it alienated many French Canadians who protested vehemently against military conscription between 1917 and 1918. The interwar years brought mixed fortunes for Canada. While the country developed socially, with the establishment of ice hockey as the national sport through the formation of the National Hockey League, and made political progress, most notably by granting women the right to vote, it also suffered economically due to the effects of the Great Depression during the 1930s.
Well, everybody
Despite this setback, Canada gained greater political autonomy with the passing of the Statute of Westminster in 1931, which, along with similar measures for other dominions of the British Empire, set Canada on the path towards full independence in later decades.
See, even this guy's like full independence. Canada is its own country. I hate watching or listening to people who are like, Canada isn't its own country. It's just a British blah blah. No, it's fully independent.
Progress towards this goal was temporarily halted, however, following the outbreak of the Second World War in 1939. Canada once again answered the call to arms from Britain, replicating its earlier efforts by supplying men and material for the war effort. This time, however, Canada also faced direct attacks in its territorial waters, where German U-boats sank a considerable number of Canadian and Allied ships. Despite the heightened threat, Canada was designated as a potential bastion for the British government and the wider empire in the event that Britain itself was overrun by a full-scale German invasion. Between 1939 and 1940, Operation Fish was carried out, relocating a portion of Britain's gold reserves and financial assets, amounting to some $56 billion in today's money, to Canada for safekeeping, marking the largest transfer of wealth in history. Similarly, the Coates mission was drafted by the British military, outlining plans to evacuate the royal family to Canada should the British Isles fall to the Axis powers. The post-war years saw progress and prosperity return to Canada. not only did it begin implementing a welfare state, with the introduction of universal healthcare and old age pensions,
we don't technically have universal healthcare though. We have like healthcare that our taxes pay for, and not everything is covered. We need to get rid of the monarchy.
But it also welcomed the last remnant of British colonial North America into the Confederation, with Newfoundland joining Canada as its 10th province in 1949. The arrival of the 1950s saw Canada become more geopolitically entwined with the United States as the Cold War intensified. Canada became a founding member of NATO and co-founded the North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, with the United States, to provide joint aerospace defense and ensure the air sovereignty of the continent. The remaining years of the 20th century witnessed Canada's transformation into the nation we recognize today. Although there were periods of political disruption, particularly with the rise of the Quebec independence movement during the 1960s, and the referenda held on the issue, the country ultimately remained united. As a symbol of this unity, the maple leaf flag was adopted as the national emblem in 1965. More significantly, the Constitution Act of 1982 was enacted, formally severing the final legal ties to Britain and granting Canada full legislative independence. However, the country retained its connection to the British monarchy, with the reigning monarch remaining as Canada's ceremonial head of state. Today, Canada stands as a diverse and democratic nation that has been shaped by centuries of conflict, compromise, and gradual self-determination.
I think that was a cool little video. I like that. It was a good little refresher course of Canada's history. And it's kind of nice to show Americans what it's like to watch the or to listen to the unfolding of the country's history. I think it's kind of cool. Oh, whoops. There we go. Let's check Twitch here. Hello, Seago. How are you? Welcome to the stream. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna need to go get more coffee in a minute. That's okay though. So that was a cool little intro into the stream. Let's jump into the riot nonsense. We're gonna look at a decoy voice video. And it was from yesterday, but I want us to watch it still. It's called They Thought They Got Away. And it's got to do with the riots, of course. So let's take a gander over at what's been going on in riot country.
Los Angeles isn't seeing rampant looting. This is just undocumented shopping. As first, they looted the Jordan stores of its sneakers, then snuck in Zara to steal some cheap clothes, moving on to the Apple store to steal some phones. Even though they already know, once stolen, the devices are completely useless. So they went back to the Adidas store to steal some sweatpants.
Cause they have, I think they've got like software or something in the phone that if you don't pay for the phone or if you just take it, they can like track it and disable the phone. Quick, gotta get more shoes for justice.
That'll sure teach those sneaker stores to not deploy the feds into their neighborhoods. And in case you're wondering what stealing cell phones and sneakers accomplishes that looting work boots or textbooks don't, we solved that in an earlier episode.
Why do you think bookstores were never looted and robbed during BLM riots?
Because black people, we enjoy education.
Oh, they weren't.
They weren't. That's the point. Why would we loot bookstores?
Why
loot
would we
designer
loot
stores?
bookstores? Why would we go steal books? Books are boring. Can't do anything with a book.
That only sounds stupid because it is stupid. As the looters don't care if you're a multinational corporation or just some locally owned jewelry store.
Oh, they're in.
Oh no.
They're in. Oh,
And as this street journalist was just recording the looting in public, these peaceful protesters beat him.
Oh yeah, because they're peacefully beating him, you guys. They're peacefully they're not actually hurting him. They're hugging him with their fists. That's what they're doing. They're hugging him with their fists. It's
They even
you know, because when my husband gets home from work, I show him my love for him by peacefully punching him in the face. Yes.
tried to rob Nick Shirley in broad daylight. And attacking anybody the mob didn't like.
They're chasing a MAGA. They're apparently trying to attack.
They're chasing
So
a MAGA. Like MAGA is some sort of fucking animal. They're chasing a MAGA. Quick, get the MAGA. It's a fucking person.
Much for being peaceful people, as sadly the attacks weren't even the worst part about this. It's the looting that's likely the most damaging, where local business owners are losing everything.
But it is the
Those are very
small,
peaceful
the mom
bricks.
and
Yes,
pop
yes.
businesses that have also been
Very peaceful bricks. Very peaceful car fires. They're just having fun watching cars burn.
looted. Nimat, I mean, you have tears in your eyes of what they've done
And
to
this
your
guy-
business.
Very bad.
This guy is a legal immigrant who got his paperwork the right way and came into America the right way and opened up a jewelry store. And now his business is fucking trash.
That it is 1 week is a riot and people of the transgender or other things, and they close the business and nobody can come inside.
With several such cases. All because the Democrats decided that President Trump can't get a win, so let's pretend we don't have a riot on our hands and sacrifice the entire life's work of actual Americans. As some locations were lucky and LAPD was nearby. But what the heck does looting a sushi restaurant have to do with anything?
Gotta keep up your energy somehow. Gotta feed the fire of rage. Food.
They must have heard that sushi's served with ice and just started smashing.
Exactly.
As that's Otoro Sushi in Little Tokyo. They're run by Japanese chefs from Japan and only have 3 locations that can only stay open 5 days a week for 5 hours a day.
Oh, yeah. So another chain of restaurants owned by actual immigrants who, like, legal immigrants who came from Japan legally to open a sushi restaurant, and they are now fucked because their sushi restaurant has been looted, and they are, like he just said, they can only be open for literally 25 hours a week, and now they can't open at all.
So I wouldn't be surprised if their profit margins were so razor thin they could never open again. But sadly, the Democrats aren't interested in protecting those type of immigrants. They'll only bend over backwards to defend them and their makeshift mortars, letting them peacefully beat the crap out of each other in the streets, and even pop off a couple paintball rounds at the police lines. As the left-wing news media first claimed, they're just having fun watching cars burn.
what is just a bunch of people having fun watching cars burn.
Because, you know, that's just a normal pastime. There's nothing my family and I like to do more than light a car on fire and watch it burn. It's amazing fun.
With Democrat Congresswoman declaring there was no violence.
There was no violence. I was on the street. I know.
And now stating it's just the exuberance of the moment.
Careful whether you see a burned car or broken window or whatever it is. It may be the exuberance of the moment.
The exuberance of the moment. Yes. Yes. Don't hold these adults to account. It's just the exuberance of the moment.
How fiery but mostly peaceful became the exuberance of the moment is just a prime example of how stupid they think their voter base is. As anybody actually paying attention knows what's really going on, and no matter how many times they ask ChatGPT to rephrase their lies, it can't change the fact that they've officially lost the city. Somehow thinking that this will stop the raids.
Stop with the ICE raids. If ICE shows up, do not resist, claim your rights. Shh, stay silent.
Hey, you, the guy that's about to write something disgusting in my comment section.
Stop it. Get some help.
But the Democrats' plan to stop the riots was even dumber.
But the real solution of all of this is for the administration to stop the raids.
Yes, stop enforcing the law, and then we won't riot anymore. Stop trying to make it so that the people who didn't do the right thing and can't come here legally are... Oh, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Thank you very much. Yeah, don't enforce the federal laws and we won't riot. Yes, that makes perfect sense.
Doubling down on that statement.
We need to stop the raids. This should not be happening in our city. The only thing it does is contribute to chaos. This was chaos that was started at Washington, D.C.
It's crazy how she's literally asking Trump to let the rioters hold the city hostage until he gives in to their demands of not enforcing our country's laws. Yeah. Basically admitting she cannot control the city. All the more reason that the military needs to come in and save it.
Yeah, the mayor is basically self-snitching and saying she can't do it. Gavin Newsom's doing the same thing. So Trump constitutionally has the right to send in the National Guard and the Marines to help because this is bullshit.
But now their argument against Trump restoring order to the city is that the deployment of the National Guard and Marines will cost $134 million. Conveniently forgetting that California already spends $8.4 billion or over 800% more on health benefits for undocumented residents this.
That is nuts. $8.4 billion spent on undocumented residents' health benefits?
Year alone. It's that same argument of building a wall is too expensive, so let's just load 10 times that amount on EBT accounts to hand out. So I'm glad our ICE director doesn't care and will continue the raids.
As a matter of fact, we got over 100 teams out today enforcing immigration law, and we're going to flood the zone. I've said for a month, sanctuary cities, you don't want us to arrest these bad guys that you just listed out. We could arrest them in the safety and security of the county jail, but they won't let us into jail. They release them into the community, which means we got to send a whole bunch of teams in the community to find this dangerous person that don't want to be found.
So they specifically don't hold on to the illegal immigrants for ICE? That's nuts. It's just as bad in Ontario. Yeah. Yeah.
So if anything, the raids in LA have only increased in frequency, proudly posting whatever they make an arrest. As I really think Homan knows, either way he's gonna get bad press, so might as well go all in on completing the mission. The problem is, like what initiated this in Minneapolis, where apparently the rioters mistook a drug bust for an ICE raid, and even to today, Reddit is out there warning their communities of ICE activity, even if it turns out just to be the local police fulfilling a student's Make-A-Wish dream with their SWAT team.
Jesus Christ. They were fucking doing a Make-A-Wish. and somebody's like, there's an ice raid, there's an ice raid. Oh my lord.
And even when the original poster was corrected, they still stood by their warning that ice could have been in the area, with other Redditors agreeing this was a good thing. They literally couldn't be any dumber if they tried, which makes me truly believe in the dead internet theory, as Reddit is likely just AI bots talking to AI bots, talking to anybody dumb enough to not notice they're talking to bots, talking to a couple foreign agents pushing an anti-American agenda.
True. True.
But ironically, and also tragically, probably the only thing that could save Los Angeles, California is Chinese President Xi, as all he has to say is, hey, I'm dropping by LA tomorrow, and just like when he visited San Francisco, it would immediately be cleaned up.
Folks say, oh, they're just cleaning up this place because all those fancy leaders are coming into town. That's true.
You're not supposed to admit that shit. What is the matter with you? Holy fuck.
Because it's true.
And again, as of recording this video, it keeps getting worse for him, where LA implemented a curfew that nobody is listening to. Protests have spread up to Seattle, all the way over to New York City, and in Chicago, they just had to deploy the bomb squad into their sewers. So make sure you're subscribed, as it's about to get spicy.
This is nuts. I'm sorry, this is batshit insane, and it's gonna get even worse. That's the thing, it's going to get even worse. And it's absolutely, like, out of control. I'm very surprised that we haven't seen more trouble. It's crazy the way this is going. And like, there are so many crossovers. Like, I see David Draymond of Disturbed retweeting like political stuff and stuff from like YouTubers and shit. He knows about Hasan. Like, it's like the crossing of worlds. It's crazy. And it just boggles my mind that we are living in this time period. Yep. It's true. And I'm so glad that my family and I moved out of the big city into a smaller town, because it is so much more like the 90s out here. They're like, everybody like helps each other, and the kids go outside and play, and it's better out in the country. I like it a lot better out here, and I can walk around pretty much the whole town without worrying about like light rail transit or roundabouts or any of that stuff. It's a lot more accessible to walk around as a blind person. All right, let's check our Kick Chat here real quick. French Bloke, hello. There we go. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to look over at Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil has been with ICE conducting the riots. And so we're going to look at a Bearing video where he talks about Dr. Phil and what Dr. Phil has to say to a left-wing person.
I'm not sure what they're expecting to happen here. Surrender? To just say, hey, we give up, we surrender. You guys don't like the laws that your elected officials passed, so we'll turn everybody loose. I listened to Gavin Newsom speak about that, and I have several thoughts about what he had to say. First off, I don't care how he feels. I barely care how I feel about this. It's not a matter of opinion. We are a country of laws.
I've been watching this illegal immigrant situation play out in America with fascination because it only seems to be ramping up. And I mean both sides of the issue seem to be ramping up. You've got riots sort of popping off in LA and now other cities like New York, Seattle, and basically everywhere else. There's this No Kings protest planned for over the weekend, which seems to be suspiciously well organised. And I find this situation so interesting because it's fairly unique to America. Now, as you know, I reckon America is like the world's greatest reality TV show. That's my opinion on America in general. I like America, but it is dramatic as all fuck. So
it really is. It's super on both sides of the spectrum. It is very, very dramatic, over the top. Both right and left people are just out of their minds with anger, and it's just very interesting.
So America's got this unique situation where there's been like an influx of illegal immigration. Low estimates are like 11 to 14 or 15 million. JD Vance has set up to 30 million. Other estimates are like 50, 60, 70 million. What we do know for sure is there's a fucking lot of illegal immigrants in America. Now you've got one faction of politics, the faction that's in power, saying we're going to address this problem. We're going to remove some of these illegal immigrants, especially the bad ones. And you've got the other faction saying, no, leave them alone. Have you no heart? Are you not a human being? And neither side seems to want to back down. Now, to complicate the issue, the country's got like a representative political system, like most Western countries, but the numbers of representatives for each state are determined on the populations of those states.
And the populations of the Democratic states are packed full of the illegal immigrants.
And illegal immigrants are counted towards the populations of those states. Yep. So it's a hairy one. I mean, we've never seen anything like this in Australia. Last time we had like an influx of illegal immigrants, we just sent the Coast Guard out and said, hey, fuck back off to Indonesia. Take your little rubber dinghies and your rusty fucking boats and fuck off. And
yeah, that's true. They did. They intercepted the refugee boats, and they were like, turn the fuck around, mate.
We're in a situation now where we have 70,000, not million, 70,000 illegal immigrants. Don't get me started on legal immigrants and refugees. That's another fucking story. But 70,000 illegals with a population of like 25, 26 million? I mean, that's obviously thanks to our big, beautiful wall we call the fucking ocean. Now, the worst offenders amongst those illegal immigrants are New Zealanders. They're New Zealanders overstaying their visas. Now, we've tried all sorts of solutions in the past, and they haven't worked. It's almost like we need to come up with some sort of like final solution to the Kiwi question. Pardon me, I've got a cold. I'm joking and I'm getting sidetracked. Back to America. The other thing that fascinates me, right, is that Donald Trump promised this stuff all along. He outlined clearly what he was going to do.
Yes, he
President
did.
Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And then now in the United States.
So he was very clear about his intentions. He's in power. He has the mandate to do what he's doing. And the left are just going fucking nuts. Now,
they are. They can't believe, A, that he's in power again, and B, that so many people voted for him to be in power, and C, that so many people voted for him to be in power to do what he's doing.
criminals. Now, I saw an interview yesterday with Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil was on Piers Morgan Uncensored. And I gotta say, I like Dr. Phil. I mean, I'm sure someone in the chat's gonna be like, hey, Bearing, don't you know Dr. Phil's a fucking lizard person? He's part of, like, the fucking Illuminati. He's in a doomsday cult. Something like that. And I'm not sure. Maybe he is. But on face value, I like Dr. Phil. So I thought we'd have a look at that interview. So let's go!
Give me an overview, Phil, about what is going on in Los Angeles and where your biggest sympathies lie.
That's Dr. Phil to you, Pierce. Don't be besmirching one of America's most scholarly TV doctors.
Pierce, it's good to talk to you again. And once again, I think the mainstream media, the legacy media, they're just ignoring the facts
media,
here.
You moron.
They're really wanting to inflame the situation. They're not wanting to inform people about what's really going on. And I'm really not sure what the objective is of the mob here. I listened to a lot of the speakers on microphones last night, yesterday, really since this all started. And they're demanding the release of the people that were arrested. Surely they can't expect that to happen.
Yeah, that's a good point. What exactly do they want? Do they really want the release of these people? I mean, we went over some of the names of the people arrested the other day, and Dr. Phil does it here too. I won't double up, but there were some pretty serious criminals amongst them. Like, do you just open the cell doors? Do you just let them back out onto the street?
I'm not sure what they're expecting to happen here. Surrender? To just say, hey, we give up, we surrender. You guys don't like the laws that your elected officials passed.
Yeah.
So we'll turn everybody loose. This is a ridiculous position.
Yeah, see, unfortunately, Dr. Phil, I think that's exactly what they want. I mean, the law be damned. Exactly if something happens that hurts these crazy fucks in the feelings, then obviously the reasonable approach is to set a bunch of fucking cars on fire.
But it gets more complicated. I mean, Gavin Newsom talked there about a 4-year-old girl, and that's one of the stories you get, where you get people who, by association, perhaps to illegal people who commit crimes, they get thrown out too, or they're there illegally, but they haven't committed crimes while they've been in the United States, and they've built, maybe as Newsom said, a 10-year life, and they've paid taxes and so on. And then you have the dreamers, obviously, who were born in the United States to illegal immigrants and so on. It's complicated, this.
Yeah, Gavin Newsom was talking about a 4-year-old girl the other day. I think he was talking about like a 12-year-old boy crying today. A 12-year-old boy he suspiciously went to meet in the fields of California. I mean, yeah, let's not go there.
I was in Oxnard, California yesterday. I met with a 12-year-old boy.
But Dr. Phil's got a pretty simple answer to this, and he's not all cold-hearted. He actually is a pretty reasonable fella.
Yeah, I listened to Gavin Newsom speak about that, and I have several thoughts about what he had to say. First off, I don't care how he feels.
Oh, did I say he's a reasonable fella? I meant he doesn't give a fuck about you, Gavin! It's shit, cunt! The doctor's orders are in, and you can go fuck yourself. No, but seriously, he is quite reasonable. I think I've cut this out for, like, time's sake, but he does actually talk about how, like, if Trump was to, like, deport every single illegal immigrant, then the economy would falter and that would not be good for the country. And he reckons the solution is somehow unclogging the immigration courts, so more of these illegal immigrants, the good ones, the ones who have family ties, the ones who work hard, the ones who are good for the community, should be given, like, expedited visas, whether that be work visas or, like, permanent visas.
But how do you determine which illegal immigrant is good and willing to work and which ones are not?
Whatever. Now, I reckon that's quite a reasonable take. The other side of the coin, though, which is also understandable, is that, like, fuck you. You did skip the line. You kind of took the place of other people who might have been more deserving to move to America kind of thing. I kind of get both positions. Anyway, let's keep going. I cut Dr. Phil off. Sorry, Doctor.
I listened to Gavin Newsom speak about that, and I have several thoughts about what he had to say. First off, I don't care how he feels. I barely care how I feel about this. It's not a matter of opinion. We are a country of laws, and laws are not suggestions. They're not guidelines. They're not optional. They're not Monday, Wednesday, Friday, one week, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, the next week. These are laws, and they were passed by Congress. And the people in Congress were elected by those people in Los Angeles.
Yeah, exactly. If you've got a problem with the law, then
He's not wrong. There are people in Los Angeles that voted.
change the fucking law. Run for Congress. Change the country. Fucking hell, do anything. Just stop burning fucking cars. Now, he makes a good point about the ICE agents themselves.
Baron,
Like, they're in the brunt
fun.
of this situation. They're getting rocks chucked at them. They're getting hurled abuse, spat on, fucking shit set on fire, blah, blah, blah. And they didn't make the fucking rules. They're just doing their jobs. Now, I can just imagine some fucking retarded leftist going, yeah, Bering, so were the guards at Auschwitz. They were just doing their jobs too. But fucking hell, I don't think we're there yet. Settle down.
Do you think anybody asked a single ICE agent, what's your opinion of the law?
No.
They're hurling rocks at the heads of these ICE agents. And so they're going after them. They had nothing to do with this.
But again,
They're
Phil, what I would say to
enforcing
that,
their job.
just to jump in, what I would say to that is, I've watched those scenes and they're utterly horrific. And the people doing that, they're trying to kill people, right? So I would absolutely charge them with attempted murder. You throw a rock at a passing car and smash the windows, you're trying to kill that person, in my estimation. I don't think anyone's got any problem with people doing that. If they're there illegally, then throw them out of the country. But what about the people who are not criminals, whose only crime, and it is a crime because if you enter the country illegally, you have entered the country illegally. You've broken the law. But do you think it's enough if that is your only crime, i.e. you're there illegally to start with, if you built a life, you have a family and so on, is that enough to be seized off the streets by ICE and deported, in your opinion?
So he gives a very blunt answer here, a very courts and stuff like
The very fact that Pierce can say that they're there illegally shows the acknowledgement they're breaking the law.
highlighted before. Now, like I said, I've cut it out for time purposes. I'm not going to play the whole clip. I'll leave a link in the description. But yeah, he's pretty cut and dry about this. The country's got laws. The country's got to enforce the laws. If you don't like the laws, then change the laws. It's not fucking rocket science.
In my opinion, that's the law. No one is questioning the humanity of those people, even if they cross the border, but that doesn't make them immune from the law.
He was giving off send them to the fucking farm vibes there, wasn't he? What was it, the farm, the boot camp or something? He'd send all these little c***y teens away to get like fucking rehabilitated.
Yeah. I'm not going for 3 months. Can she go with me? I want her by myself. Why can't I have my phone?
So now Pierce asks him if
my phone. Oh no.
he's like comfortable with the National Guard being sent in, you know, the feds being sent in to lay down the law.
Do you feel comfortable as it escalated about the National Guard coming in?
Because when your shit expires, you're supposed to have knowledge of this and exit yourself. But see, you're making sense again.
Being put on standby. Are you comfortable with the sort of militarization of the way this has been dealt with at federal level?
The federals aren't out there to run an operation over peaceful protest. They're out there because Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass have not done their job.
Fucking preach, Dr. Phil. No, they haven't. They've failed miserably. And the thing that shits me is you've got fucking Gavin Newsom just being all indignant and fucking self-righteous. Like Donald Trump's just some big bad dictator. And he's like, I don't know, Luke Skywalker fighting the fucking empire.
And the thing is if Trump was such a dictator, Gavin wouldn't be able to say any of the shit that he's saying right now.
No, I don't do Star Wars, whatever. I mean, this kind of just feels like a sit down with your dad. Does anyone else get that vibe? You know, when you're a bit lost on an issue, you're a bit confused about something. And so even if your dad's like 70 or 80 years old, you fucking go sit down with him and he calmly lays it out. He gives you his opinion and you walk away feeling like, oh yeah, that makes sense, doesn't it? It's not that complicated. That's the vibe I get here. This interview, I suppose, helped me understand the situation a little bit better. Anyway, let's give the good doctor the last word.
This isn't good for America.
No.
I mean, what are we, dummies? They're hoping that they will burn this city to the ground. They're hoping they will sow discord. This isn't pro-America. We've got people that are pushing this that hope that this deteriorates the city and tears it down. That's not pro-America. We need to wake up and smell the coffee here.
Thanks.
He's not wrong. I think that the aim is to cause as much problems as possible and cause. I self-deported. Why is it so hard for these people to do it? I don't know. I don't know why. I really, really don't. It's very stupid that, like, all they have to do is, oh shit, my visa's expired, my green card's expired. Either go renew it or leave. It's not that hard. I don't understand why people are acting like it is impossible to go and leave the country. I don't get it. All right, we are going to do a quick break so that I can refill my coffee. And then I will return. So, let me just switch the screens here. And I shall return in a couple of minutes. we're back. So, we've still got some more stuff to go through. Pink Hollow says, my favorite is the pro clutching over the TikToker that's overstayed his welcome. It turns out he was from Senegal. Oh, he's a citizen of Senegal and Italy, and everybody's freaking out because he's self-deported. Oh, Jesus Christ. That's crazy. That is absolutely insane, just to get so upset about that. That's crazy. So let's take a look at this. Riots just hit New York City. Let's take a look at this craziness. What's going on in New York City? Let's see.
Thank you to American Financing for sponsoring this video. Thank you to for sponsoring this video.
Dozens of people arrested outside Immigration Court in Manhattan tonight, hours after ICE agents detained several people in its field office.
So at this building behind me where you see this unmarked police car, there was a near riot as protesters got in the faces of federal agents. Agents tasked with safely removing people in America illegally, many of whom could be dangerous. However, as you can imagine, immigration enforcement does not go over well at all in New York because this is America's largest sanctuary city.
Of course it is. Of course, I forgot New York was a sanctuary city.
Protests erupted into chaos Wednesday night outside the federal immigration court in Soho. Officers and crowds clashing over barricades. About 24 protesters taken into custody for charges that include obstruction of government administration.
People say, oh, let them come in legally. And when they try to come in legally and follow the court proceedings, they're being kidnapped.
No. They're in immigration court because they didn't follow the proceedings. And then ICE is coming in and going, hey, you're at court already. Well, we're just going to take you into custody.
This is Gestapo-like behavior.
Nothing can change unless the people stand up. We know that what we are doing is on the right side of justice.
They actually have psychologists that are training and coaching these migrants on what to say and what not to say. As you can see in Bill's video, initially they speak English and all of a sudden they forget English.
We do know a lot of these asylum claims are phony. It's just a fact.
The asylum program is a scam. They tell them what to say.
Demonstrators descend.
That's crazy. This is nuts.
On an ICE facility in Soho, shouting and chanting, determined to block van loads of migrants from being moved out of the city. 23 were arrested.
Good. More should be arrested.
So nearly 24 people were arrested at New York City Immigration Court, but what nobody's talking about is even though this is a sanctuary city, immigration law still applies here, whether local activists want it to or not. And like all sovereign nations, our laws say that if you come here illegally, deportation will be the end result. But sanctuary cities exist to stop that from happening, and New York offers illegal immigrants the proverbial red carpet. Food.
How is it legal? If federal immigration law states that if you come here illegally, you must be deported, how is it legal to create a sanctuary city? Isn't that breaking the law, even under the argument of state sovereignty?
Food, shelter, and even a room in a former luxury hotel, in the hope that those who are here without permission will figure out a way to stay in America forever. Which makes sanctuary cities like this part of an insurrection with the purpose of circumventing America's laws, which are designed to keep everybody here safe. And cities like New York that resist those laws have a lot of problems, especially with gangs like Tren de Aragua, who send their minions out on snatch and grab robbery sprees, where they sometimes encounter police and then go after them as well.
Sounds great. Sounds just peachy fun and safe and Oh my god, this is crazy.
Just like they did in Times Square a few weeks ago. Yet now that ICE is here removing people who've lost their legal status, which proponents say was given to them illegally, local activists are furious. Which brings us to the real reason these courthouse raids are so important. When our laws are not enforced, you allow a criminal underworld to grow and prosper like never before. But by simply enforcing our laws and deporting those who don't have a legal right to be here, criminals everywhere will learn that if they value their freedom, they should probably leave on their own.
Or if they value their freedom, they should probably not break the law. There's a fucking concept for you.
Something they can do today at any airport while getting paid up to $1,000. But as you're about to see, local activists are willing to do just about anything to make sure that doesn't happen. So here's where the riots took place just a couple of days ago. This is a multi-use federal building. It's got immigration-related services happening here. There's a Homeland Security office. But as you're about to see, the activism that took place on the streets here and resulted in multiple arrests was unprecedented. Not just because of how wild it got, but because the people that recently came here and stormed this facility are angry and all upset about things they don't understand.
Isn't that normal? Most activists are angry about things they don't understand.
Protests erupted into chaos Wednesday night outside the federal immigration court in Soho. Officers and crowds clashing over barricades. About 24 protesters taken into custody.
People say, oh, let them come illegally. And when they try to come illegally and follow the court proceedings, they're being kidnapped.
So what these protesters don't understand is every individual being taken into custody is here without permission to remain in America. In fact, most of the people getting arrested got here one of two ways. They either walked across the border when it was wide open, were apprehended by Border Patrol and given a court hearing, or they were flown directly into America by President Biden's CBP-1 program, which allowed folks to fly over the congested border and land directly in American cities and await their day in court. But both of these entry methods were illegal. People cannot just walk across the border. They cannot be flown in by the tens of thousands, yet these illegal programs are why the protesters are here. And they came to this building and attacked it because they're under the impression something very wrong is taking place.
Yeah, they think, like, they don't understand how these people got here, and they think that these people somehow are here legitimately. I like, this is my only guess. This is because it has to be, otherwise they're just absolutely retarded, because they have to think that these people are here legitimately. That's
and they're right. Something very wrong is taking place, but as you're about to see, they just happen to be on the wrong side of it.
The protests come hours after witnesses report several people were taken into custody inside the ICE field office in Lower Manhattan.
I've been working here for a couple years, and I've never seen either this many agents, let alone agents dressed in plain clothes, wearing masks, pulling people out of line.
Wow, so if you want to see New Yorkers have a problem with masks, just allow ICE agents to start wearing them. Just like
apparently masks are fine unless you're a federal agent.
Like the protesters. But the protesters don't understand the reason people are being deported when they show up at courthouses like this is because they entered the country through the help of a program that was never legal to begin with. And these individuals entered our country after the people in charge decided not to enforce our laws. And what most people don't understand is that the court cases and the charges that bring people to buildings like this in the first place, those are essentially a reward for sneaking into the country, because hand in hand with those charges, people get the legal right to stay here while the whole court process plays out.
Yes, this is true. The only reason they're going into that building is because they were there illegally and they have been charged with it, and now they have to have their day in court, and they still get to stay in America on America's dime.
And once that process ends, if somebody doesn't have the right to be here, they can be deported. And the problem these activists have is their viewpoint is so skewed that when our laws actually start getting enforced, to them, it looks illegal.
Advocates say it is becoming increasingly common for ICE to arrest and detain migrants at their immigration court hearings.
It's a catch-22.
Yeah,
You don't show up
that's the only time they can get them.
for your court hearing, then you're also then could be ordered removed from the country.
I'm not sure that's 100% true. How can it be a catch-22 if people can enter this courtroom and then get to stay in America forever? This is a court where they figure out what to do with people who are here and say they're claiming asylum. Also, the border was a catch-22 because no matter how you came in, you wouldn't be deported. You got to stay. But the other thing activists are wrong about is that ICE is not arresting people when they show up to court. That's not what's happening. No, instead they're arresting people after they leave court without the permission to remain in America.
Yeah, they're not just the people don't the people get to have their hearing, and then it's decided whether they get to stay or not. And if they don't get to stay, then ICE comes in and goes, "Come with me, please."
Legally, if people were being arrested before they walked into a courtroom, then they'd be deprived of their due process. But that's not what's happening. Everyone's getting their due process. They're getting their day before a judge. It's just not working out the way activists want. They want everybody who goes before a judge to be granted a green card. So they're being dishonest when they say that this is a catch-22. But what this reveals is that the entire agenda behind the asylum crisis and this whole argument over people being deprived their due process, the reality is the people behind this want individuals to get to stay here forever. They want an unlimited number of people to be able to come into America, and they want all of those people to get to stay as long as they want. No vetting, no criminal background checks, nothing. Just show up and you get to stay. But there's one arrest that recently took place which activists say triggered all of the mayhem that took place here just a few days ago. With everything happening in the economy, it feels like we're walking on shaky ground. Prices are stuck rocketing, and they may be able to close your loan in as little as 4. That's 826-890-4844. Or visit AmericanFinancing.net/cash.
There we go.
So here we are at the ICE headquarters, 26 Federal Plaza, where there is also an immigration court. This is another location somebody without the permission to remain in our country could be detained. But it just so happens one such individual was recently arrested at a place like this, yet they were a high school student enrolled in New York City public schools. Apparently they were well loved and respected by their classmates. But this person's now in deportation proceedings because they're from Venezuela and the government says they're not supposed to be here. Yet that has triggered protesters in a manner that I don't think anybody saw coming.
So they're mad that this guy overstayed his welcome, and it's time for him to go, and that's why they're upset, because it's time for him to go because he overstayed his visa.
The young Venezuelan man appeared for a routine immigration hearing and was taken into custody by ICE agents. He and his mother and his siblings have been granted temporary protected status under the Biden administration's asylum program.
He is a student, a hard worker, a family man.
So it's important to understand what these illegal migration programs were designed to do. They were designed to bring people into America, and the architects of these programs hoped that some of the people brought in, when it was their turn to leave, the general public would be outraged. And it was secretly hoped that people would get so angry they would vote for presidential candidates who would prolong the asylum crisis or make it permanent, to avert what the television tells everyone is a domestic tragedy in the making. However, what these activists weren't banking on is that most Americans now understand programs that encourage illegal immigration are a bad thing because of who it is.
It's so obvious. The people who want the illegal immigration, they try to hide the fact that they want it, but it's so easy to see.
Is that takes advantage of these loopholes and enters our country when they shouldn't to begin with.
Authorities say the suspects are members of a Times Square gang known as Diablos de la 42, described as an offshoot of Tren de Aragua, the violent Venezuelan gang,
And the latest suspect arrested is only 16 years old. He faces 10 charges, including attempted assault, reckless endangerment, and criminal possession of a weapon.
So here you have gang members who entered the United States through some illegitimate process, and these guys are as young as 11. They're supposed to be in school too. But what's happened is they've come here and gotten swept into the very criminal underworld progressives in our country say does not exist. And yes, they're members of families, students themselves, exactly the type of person who, if deported, could be used by the media to generate mass outrage. But it isn't just that gang members illegally in New York have been able to go on recruiting sprees, getting people to join them from the very asylum seeker populations we've been told fled these gangs to begin with. Now, you see, at the heart of this is this whole temporary protected status. The people being deported after their court case ends when they lose their TPS, these are folks who have lost the temporary right to be here. And what activists really want is PP.
Because like some of these acronyms I'm not familiar with, so bear with me. But we'll get through this.
Permanent protected status. And when these programs come to an end, people have to leave the country. Of course, only the truly law-abiding will do so. But activists aim to stop all that because here we are in a sanctuary city, which will give people a driver's license and help them establish themselves, while listening to the cries of activists who promise to protect them from ICE and tell them how badly they want them to stay here and be their neighbors forever. And look, if ICE doesn't operate at a courtroom, there's a real chance that some of the people leaving that courtroom might decide that, hey, I'll just become a fugitive in New York City and try to stay here forever. Why not? Everyone here is telling me I can do it, which is why there has been zero pressure to deport people even after they're caught committing the worst offenses.
Police say the first 5 suspects arrested were all illegal migrants from Venezuela, all repeat offenders that were listed in the city's gang database.
Oh, lovely. So they were known gang members. Known criminals, and they were still allowed to remain in the country despite the fact that they were not only committing the crime of being there illegally, but they were also committing gang-related crimes.
3 others are still being sought, police releasing these photos asking for the public's help.
Activists, they don't want to see these punks get deported. They don't think anybody that the Trump administration or ICE would say is a gang member is actually a gang member. They think these gangs don't even exist. They think these are just boys being boys. But what about this?
Boys being boys.
This argument that activists are sticking to, that some of these people have no criminal record. What's up with that?
So, when the Trump administration tells you that they are only going after criminals, that's right. Know that is a flat out lie.
No, it's not. He's just going for criminals. You just don't understand how wide the scope of crime is.
Yeah, this is what you call misinformation. First of all, if somebody snuck into the country illegally, that's a crime. If they were allowed to stay because whoever was in charge at the time said that, well, we'll hit you with some charges and give you temporary protected status and let you get a job and let you stay here while you're in the court system, that certainly doesn't make it legal. Also, if those in charge of our country decided to set up a smartphone app and fly people in by the hundreds of thousands, a program which should never have existed to begin with, and then the people associated with that program have their temporary time in this country expire, if that happens and they go to a court like this and their due process ends with them no longer having permission to be here, why are activists upset? That's how the process is supposed to work. But the problem is...
Another thing, why is it that if the U.S. is so great and you want to live there and you don't want to go back to your own country, why are you guys wandering around waving all of the flags of your old countries and not the American flag?
The problem is activists don't want the process to work. They want everybody who's here to get to stay forever, and they don't care what that takes. That's why they're out there fighting. That's why they're screaming in the faces of officers saying that they're deporting hardworking men and women, when that's not the case at all. People are here on a temporary basis. When their time expires, the law has to be followed, and a judge will decide what happens next. What we're looking at is the epitome of due process, yet nobody seems to be happy about it. And here's the problem. If there's no fallback on that due process, if we don't make make sure that it's followed, the mass of fugitives living in cities like New York will only grow, and that is just going to empower a growing criminal underworld. Not just the gangs that are sneaking people across the border or smuggling them through our country, but also the gangs that have infested our inner cities and sanctuaries like New York who go on to commit crime. And what most people don't understand is a lot of the people that are here, they're in the process of sending remittances back to their captors who brought them across into the country to begin with.
Yeah, these people who are here illegally were smuggled into the country, most of them, not all of them, but most of them, and they have to pay the smuggler that smuggled them illegally into the country an assload of money. And it's not like it is, and these people can keep extorting money for as long as they want.
Smugglers charge tens of thousands of dollars. Not everybody here has that, but many of the people working in restaurants or delivery jobs, they are beholden to a criminal empire, which most Americans don't even know exists. Which is why proponents say people without the permission to be here shouldn't be. What do you think about that? Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.
They need help. Like these people who are, it's crazy the way that these people are infiltrating the cities. ICE and everybody needs freaking help to deal with it. It's nuts. Hello everybody, welcome in. Let's check Kick Chat here for a second. Let's check Kick and Twitch. Come on, Chrome. Okay. Okay, let's check Kick. All right. So, let's see here. So we are going to move to our next video. Where are we here? Shocked Brit reacts to deadliest animals in Canada. I think we'll break up the riot stuff with something funny. So let's take a look at this. I think it'll be amusing. Okay. We are in theater mode. Oh, come on. There we go.
Well, I don't really know why I'm doing this because I know it's going to scare the absolute shit out of me. Well, I don't really know why I'm doing this because I know it's going to scare the absolute shit out of me. Oh, my feet have just curled up. I know, fuck. Maybe even put me off going to Canada. I probably won't, but it could. Because today we're going to be checking out Canada's most deadliest animals. If you're not yet, please do sub. Please feel free to hit that sub button. And then if you haven't yet, please do subscribe. Have a great day. That sounds like I'm saying goodbye. Don't be going anywhere. The video's just starting, alright?
Welcome to our channel. Today we're diving deep into the heart of Canada's untamed wilderness to uncover its most dangerous inhabitants.
Kick me in.
From coast to coast, Canada is home to a diverse array of wildlife, some of which can pose serious threats to humans. Before we venture into the most dangerous animals, let's take a look at the landscape. Canada's landscape is a tapestry woven with breathtaking diversity, encompassing everything from rugged mountains to vast prairies, dense forests to frozen tundras, and serene lakes to rushing rivers. Let's explore this in more depth. Mountainous majesty. In the west, the Canadian Rockies stand tall with peaks that pierce the sky.
Why are we talking about the mountains? This is animals? What
Because there are lions up there.
is this? I changed the video, man.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment.
Alright.
Number 1. Moose. Moose inhabit the west.
Wait, that's not a moose, is it? I thought a moose had antlers, man. What the hell's that? I don't know what that is, man. I don't think that's a moose. It looks like a horse.
Western ranges of Canada
Kinda.
can be found in forested areas along streams.
Why are they dangerous?
These animals can weigh anywhere from 800 to 1,400 pounds and have a diet consisting of bark, leaves, and twigs.
Because they can literally, a moose can be hit by a truck and go, ow.
Although many people don't associate moose with danger, they can indeed cause harm.
Yep.
Moose can attack if startled and have been known to charge if agitated.
Oh.
There are also around 350 incidences of motor vehicle accidents involving moose in Canada each year. As long as you are aware of your surroundings in the wilderness and pay attention to the road while driving, you shouldn't have any issues with moose in Canada.
Unless, of course, you're not paying attention and the moose just decides to fucking walk out into the road.
2. Cougars. Cougars can be found in Canada's Rocky Mountains and forests.
Yo, we got cougars in where I live, man, but they aren't. They have 2 legs and they're human.
Cougars are the second heaviest cat in the world behind jaguars. On average, there are a few fatal cougar attacks in Canada each year. These big cats do not consider humans prey, but they will attack under certain circumstances.
Oh, look, he's ready to pounce.
Most attacks involve cougars that are suffering from starvation or that are protecting their young.
Aww.
These animals typically kill their prey by biting the neck. Their sharp teeth, bite force, and sharp claws are nothing to be messed with. Be aware of traveling alone
Look at those
in Canada's
gnashers.
wilderness, and think about bringing some sort of repellent spray just in case.
Yeah, mace that bitch. Mace that cougar. I don't mean like the human kind.
That's what you just do, man. Oh.
There are 3 types of bears living in Canada. Black bears, brown bears, and polar bears. Brown bears can be found all throughout.
Like, how can that look so cuddly and like you just want to give it a big hug, but also it will tear your skin off in the same instance? You know what I mean? Like,
exactly. How can we have like, oh, look at the cute little bear. Look at the cute little bear. Wah, 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 wah.
why can't that big thing just be nice to me? Like, why can't we walk up and give that a hug in real life? Why do they have to be designed to want to rip our head off?
Throughout the country. Their diet is made up of flowers, grasses, berries, herbs, and roots. They get their protein from sources like deer, caribou, salmon, dead animals, and other small creatures. Black bears tend to mostly inhabit the forests around Canada.
Are they the dangerous
Much
ones?
like the brown bear, black bears also maintain a diet of vegetation and protein, such as fruits, grass, and animal meat. Black bears are more agile than they look, such as having the ability to climb up trees to catch prey.
Yeah, so if you're chased by a black bear, do not climb a tree, because it will follow you.
Alright. I think he said, did they climb up a tree? Is that what he said there?
Yes, he did.
Black bears are more agile than they look, such as having the ability to climb up trees to catch prey, or if they perceive danger. Polar bears tend to keep to the coastal regions of Canada and are frequently found around ice-filled areas. This bear's main source of food comes from the ringed seal. They also have been known to hunt walrus and beluga whales.
Look at him!
All 3 types of bear in Canada have the potential to cause serious harm to humans.
No shit. They're fucking bears. We also have grizzlies and Kodaks, not just brown bears. Oh yeah.
They all possess sharp claws and very strong
Why does
bite
his fate
force.
look fake?
There have been attacks recorded in Canada each year, with few resulting in fatality. Although attacks are somewhat rare, they still clearly happen.
They're
If you
beautiful.
ever find yourself face to face with a bear and sense an ensuing attack, make as many loud noises as possible. It's also a good
I
idea
told
to
you that's
carry
what you.
bear repellent.
Yeah, that's what you do. You just start.
That's why you need a. My aunt used to have bear horns. Bear horns and like whistles and shit, because she had a cabin up like way up in northern Ontario, like to the point where you have to park your vehicle and hike the rest of the way into the cabin. And she has been visited by many a bear.
Just scream in his face, man. Make it even more angry.
If you plan on going out into Canada's wilderness. It's also wise to invest in bear-proof trash cans, because these massive animals can make their way into urbanized areas as well. Number 4.
Oh god.
Wolves. Canada has the world's largest wolf
Polar
population
bear
with
the only bear that will actively hunt a human for like days. Oh shit, polar bears get vengeful, huh?
around 50,000 in the country. Wolves typically eat deer, elk, moose, bison, bighorn sheep, caribou, and musk oxen.
Ever hang in?
These animals can bite if agitated or provoked, and is also known to attack if in a state of starvation.
Well, yeah, they're desperate. But wolves, like, I've hated the way people used to think about wolves. In grade 2, we actually did 2 different things. We did an adopt a wolf thing and an adopt a whale thing, where we the class brought in like money, and we adopted like a wolf, like on a preserve or whatever. We adopted like a wolf pup, and then we adopted I think it was like a beluga calf.
Wolves are also known to attack when they lose their fear of humans over time.
They're just big dogs,
dog-like
right?
creatures also tend to hunt in packs.
Oh,
which
shit.
can be a difficult situation to survive if they choose to actively hunt you.
That wouldn't be good.
If you do run into a situation where a pack of wolves start to attack you, climb the closest tree you can find.
What?
The wolves will eventually lose patience after a while and leave.
What if there is
Yeah, they can't climb trees.
no
Be
tree?
aware of traveling alone in Canada's wilderness and bring some sort of weapon if you do end up out in wolf.
My feet have just curled up. No, fuck.
Scared little Irishman.
Oh, nah, man, nah.
Black widow spider.
What?
Although encounters with black widows in Canada are rare, they are indeed out there.
Get it off
Black
the
widows
screen!
can easily
Fuck that!
be recognized by the red hourglass shaping on their back. These are
Which, you know what's great about being blind? And you can't fucking see that shit.
arachnids are known to possess venom that can be 15 times stronger than that of a rattlesnake. Fortunately for the people of Canada, these spiders are not aggressive and will only attack if disturbed or provoked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're blind, you accidentally end up disturbing or provoking them.
How do I know there's not one on my foot right now? Because I'm moving my feet around. Okay, that provoke it?
Like to inhabit dimly lit locations such as an unfinished basement, closet, outdoor restroom, or pile of leaves. These spiders can create venom that attacks the nervous system.
Yeah, fucking outhouses. You know, wood piles. Shit like that. It's, oh god.
Symptoms of a
fucking
black widow
nervous.
bite include chills, fever, nausea,
Death.
vomiting, extreme pain, and also swelling of the contact area. If you happen to be bitten, seek immediate medical attention.
Yeah.
Children and the
No, I'll
elderly
just
are
leave
especially at risk of potential fatal effects.
If I get bit one of them, I'm just gonna curl up in the ball and die, man.
Overall, Canada is a very beautiful country, but it does have wildlife that can cause significant harm to humans. As long as you are prepared and educated on the areas you travel to.
You'll be
in the
alright. In my head, like a...
You know what? Canada may have some animals that can hurt you, but at least it's not fucking Australia. I'm sorry, but fucking Australians, I don't know how blind Australians even go outside. I do not understand. This is why I tell you to stay away from the wood pile. Yeah, I understand that now. Like, ugh, fuck that. And then, but it's like, I don't understand how blind Australians go outside or even like don't panic with whatever the fuck breaks in or comes into the house, because they've got those fucking spiders and snakes and fucking I don't know what the hell else in Australia, but seriously. Oh, the guy missed out on the Mississauga Rattler? Yeah, he did. Yeah, he missed the Massasauga Rattler, yep. Alright. Let's see here. We're going to now look at a shoe-on head video that I have wanted to watch for a couple of days now. It's apparently about men fetishizing disabled people. Hold on. Where are we? Is this the average male fantasy? That's what we're gonna look at here. This is a video that I have wanted to watch for quite some time. And we're gonna put it on 1.25 speed because it's June and I don't wanna, yeah. There we go. Okay. Now, I want to watch this and react to it because this is a video that I have seen a couple of other people react to, but I, as a disabled person who is married to someone who is not disabled, I want to take a look at this. Here we go. Let's take a look.
Men, what do they want? Money. Men, what do they want? Money, status, fast, expensive cars? What is the ultimate male fantasy? Is it fame, fortune, 3 hot chicks at once? Hell yeah, brother. No, according to men on the internet, it's something a little more simple.
Okay.
This is literally just a fetish. I f***ing hate men so much. Men are why we can't have nice things.
Please tell me that's a comment.
As I was working on an upcoming video, I made the terrible mistake of logging onto Twitter, where I saw this post. A montage from the anime Josie, the Tiger, and the Fish.
What the hell is that? Josie, the Tiger, and the Fish. I've never heard of it. Okay.
A movie about a college student who's assigned to take care of a paraplegic girl, and spoiler, eventually they fall in love. Many men were urine posting.
Of course. Because it's a fucking... I hate those movies. They always end up the same way. The person who goes and takes care of the paraplegic person. Because paraplegic people apparently can't take care of themselves, meanwhile they can.
In the replies of this tweet and talking about how they wish to fall in love and would love a relationship like this, while many others, mostly women, were absolutely f***ing disgusted at this. Why would a bunch of men be fantasizing about being with a woman in a wheelchair? Seems pretty creepy and predatory, right? Also just unrealistic and problematic.
Why? Are they talking about because the woman's in a wheelchair, or are they talking about the context of the relationship and like the fact that they can share love and honesty, and like, is that possibly what it is? Perhaps, maybe?
Well, in this video, we are going to be talking about why so many men resonated to that clip and this movie, and why so many people are so confused as to why. We're also going to be reading some absolutely unhinged tweets, as usual, to get to the bottom of why such a wholesome post turned into, once again, another battlefront for the ongoing, never-ending gender war. Men versus women versus men, the male loneliness epidemic, the female loneliness epidemic, the dealing with dating apps. Do men prefer thin women or curvy women? Brunettes or blondes? Do women like dad bods or fit men?
How about we stop trying to generalize what everybody likes and like just go for personal preferences? Because surprise, surprise, men and women are not a monolith. Isn't that insane?
Do they like beards or clean shaven? Oh yeah, that reminds me. Let's quickly get into today's sponsor, Henson Shaving. The razor burn, the overpriced blade or shop that Built Bar irritates spending like razor burn. Get the 100 blades for free with your video. Now, I am not an anime connoisseur. In fact, I basically know nothing about anime. I am probably the most tourist of all the tourists. Yeah, hi, I have a question. Was the upskirt shot necessary in order to advance the plot? I watched Pokemon and Sailor Moon when I was a kid, and a few years ago I watched Beastars on Netflix. Legoshi, best boy. Not a furry, by the way. And honestly, that's about it for my anime consumption. Unless you're counting VTubers. If you're counting VTubers, I watch a lot of anime. But because of this clip going viral, I watched Josie the Tiger and the Fish, and, well, I thought it was a good movie. I recommend watching it. I thought it was a really cute, good story. I only cried a little bit, and I completely understood what the tweet meant by calling it the average male fantasy. So, what was wrong with it?
Why is that the average, or, you know what I mean? Like, how is it the average male fantasy? To be in a relationship with someone in a wheelchair. I think they really just meant the context of the relationship.
Why did this clip go so viral in such a negative way? Why were thousands of people angry at this post? Well, let us dilly-dally no longer and read some of these angry replies to get a better understanding of what the issue is, shall we? Wholesome male fantasy, and it's fetishizing a disabled girl for him to control. Oh no. They think, oh god, why? Always vulnerable, always happy, always needs you. Pretty perverted. Where are these fan fictions coming from? They were like...
Exactly. They're these people who self-report like this. This is how they view themselves. This is how they think able-bodied people feel about them.
Hundreds of tweets just like this. Why did they see a cute montage of a happy couple, a man and a woman happy, together? I know, unheard of. Why did they see that and then immediately come to these conclusions?
Because disabled people can't be with able-bodied people and be happy. Don't you understand? That means that the able-bodied person is manipulating the disabled person into being happy. They can't genuinely naturally be happy with their able-bodied partner. It's all manipulation.
Like, as someone who actually watched the movie, Josie is not always happy, and she's absolutely not portrayed as some, like, vulnerable, ooh-woo, sex doll waifu. She's boisterous, she kind of has a foul mouth, she's very sassy and headstrong, she, like, straight up calls him her servant, but she was also very depressed. She basically never left her house, she was basically a girl failure. As a former girl failure, I love to see representation in media. But they actually show her disability, like, not in a good way. Like, they don't romanticize it, they don't sugarcoat it. And I noticed, unlike a lot of movies, unlike a lot of romance movies, at least like the Hallmark kind, where it's like the stuffy male lead learning to live life from the quirky, cute female lead, he's already got his shit together. And she learns to live life from him.
See, that's normally how it is. Like, with my relationship, I quite honestly have learned a lot from Pink Hollow because of the way our relationship is, because of, like, not just because he's able-bodied, but because of his different life experience from mine. Like, it's and it's so fucking pathetic for people to think that just because a disabled person is happy with an able-bodied person that it can't be genuine.
He encourages her to live her dreams, and in return, he learns to live life in a completely different way. And I thought that was really cool and sweet. Also, the animation was really good. Is anime good? Have I been sleeping on anime this entire time? His fantasy is that she becomes permanently disabled and helplessly dependent on him, but can still make him a sandwich. Ew. Sounds about right. Oh my god, after watching the movie, these tweets are even more insane. But even putting the movie...
What the fuck is wrong with these people?
Aside, just seeing that, like, cute montage out of context. Where the fuck are they getting this? These are very clearly just two happy people. But because the caption was the average male fantasy, their mind immediately goes to the darkest, worst faith interpretation of this.
Yeah. It's really just the average male fantasy is, I really want a good, solid, loving relationship with a good, solid, stable, loving woman.
Problem is, these people can't see any humanity in men. They can't see any humanity in humanity in general. Average male fantasy equals girlfriend with no agency who's completely...
It's not just men, June. They're dehumanizing the disabled woman, too, by saying that she can't possibly be happy as a disabled woman in an able body in an I hate this word, interabled relationship.
To the darkest, worst faith interpretation of this. The problem is these people can't see any humanity in men. They can't see any humanity in humanity in general. Average male fantasy equals a girlfriend with no agency who's completely physically dependent on you and forced into blanket subservience and compliance. Sounds about right. You males are weird for fetishizing physically disabled women. Average male fantasy is having a physically disabled girl that they can abuse however they want.
Abuse? What the fuck? Oh, the self-snitching is real here. What the hell?
Got it. Not to be that guy. I'm gonna be that guy. The infantilization of the physically disabled here is a little, dare I say, ableist. The implication here that people in wheelchairs cannot find love, and if they do, the person who loves them literally just loves them because they can't run away.
Yeah, they love them because of the wheelchair. That's
weird. Average men can't even be nice to their healthy and normal girlfriend. What makes you think they'll be able to handle a disabled person as their lover? Whoa, normal? What do you mean by normal?
Wow.
These people are just so ableist, chat. Can you believe it? Chat? Chat? I don't even live stream. Who's chat? I'm disabled, blind, so I showed this to my boyfriend. He says, I love you because you're you, and you make my days happier. So what if I have to drive you places or help you with cooking and cleaning? I would have done that anyway. Disability has nothing to do with it. I love you. Ma'am.
Exactly. That's that's what Pincolo says. He's like, this is what I do most of the work in the relationship. It's not because I'm, a control freak. It's because that's just how our dynamic is. But I do other things. Like, I have my role, right? And it's not a subservient role.
Ma'am, I don't know how to tell you this, but, your boyfriend is a rapist. Sorry you had to find out this way. You show this as fantasy because it's not true for the majority of men who participate in abuse of disabled people. No, the fantasy is the woman appreciates his efforts to make her happy. Stop lying and abusing women and the disabled. Your meds, schizo. You don't even know that f***ing guy. What do you mean stop abusing women and the disabled? Bitch, who are you? Also, the majority of men participate in abuse of disabled people. Are you okay?
What, the majority of men participate in the abuse of disabled people? What the fuck? Where is this coming from? What statistic is this?
The majority of men are not abusers. That is a very, very small minority of men. The majority of men are men that just wake up, take a shit, get out of bed, take a shower, go to work, come home, and wait for GTA 6 to come out. That is the majority of men. Men commit 95% of all rape, but okay. Barging into the romance section of Barnes & Noble like, attention everyone! Rape! Where is that coming from? So close, this is fetish content. Ah yes, the dirtiest, most taboo of all fetishes. A happy relationship.
Yes.
Honestly, in 2025, that might be true. Oh, you want a wife?
Yeah. An actual, happy, stable relationship? Yeah, that might just be a
Kids, you sick
dirty fetish.
But this is literally just a perverted fantasy, LMAO. You think it's a perverted fantasy because, how do I put this nicely? You are a pervert. Literally seeing a cute montage of a male and female character having fun together, being in love together, being like, rape! He's a rapist!
It's true. This is fucking unhinged with how they view men and how they view disabled people. Like, the fact that they think that disabled people just automatically have no agency because they're disabled is fucking disgusting.
This is a fetish! Are these people okay? Stop watching porn! Wait, this is a woman. Okay, stop reading Taken by the Werewolf Billionaire.
Women watch porn too, June. Just so you know.
Or whatever the fuck you read. I swear to God, some of the shit women read would make the most depraved internet gooner blush. Or so I've been told.
And you know that books can still be porn, right?
This is literally just a fetish. Okay, listen, I'm not gonna pretend there's nobody out there who's like, she can't run away, she has no legs. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend there's nobody out there who has a crippled, disabled fetish, okay? I've been on the internet for 20 years. I've been on DeviantArt. I've seen shit you wouldn't believe. But the majority of people, probably most, if not all the people responding to this, do not have a cripple fetish, okay? In fact, her being in a wheelchair basically has nothing to do with it. Much like how females coom over, like, vampires or, like I said before, the billionaire werewolf fantasy. This is just the average male fantasy distilled down to its most extreme. So what is the average male fantasy? The average male fantasy is the fantasy of both men and women alike. It is simply to love and to be loved. But more specifically, the male fantasy is to be a protector and a provider.
Shocker! Isn't that amazing? Just to be loved and in a loving relationship. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, that's true. I need more sex.
For those that they love. Put a pin in this because we are going to come back to this in a big way, trust me. The average male fantasy is being a globally known terrorist. The average male fantasy is that a woman who isn't fat. The average male fantasy is actually job security. You know what? These guys may have a point here. Pedophile alert, men want disabled child wives. Average male fantasy is a disabled child.
The fuck is wrong with these
More
people?
proof that men are pedos. That's a little girl. This is weird. So, first of all, she's literally older than the guy. The guy is 22 and she is 24. In anime years, he is practically hag-maxing. And yes, she may be physically disabled, but aren't all men mentally disabled in their own special way? At least the ones in my audience. They will freely admit this. Maybe she, the older woman, is taking advantage of this sensitive young man. Have you ever thought of that? She looks like an 11-year-old child. Where are her breasts? First of all, really weird way to say that. She looks like a child. Show me her titties. Also, I love how, like...
Right? What the fuck? What? Why? What the hell? That is just weird.
When anime women have huge boobs, it's disgusting, Coomer brain or whatever. But if the anime woman has small boobs, she is a child and you're a chimo. Can't fucking win. Also, if she had big boobs, they'd absolutely be like, wow, look at this sexualization of the disabled. Yeah. Also, you know, like, adult women can be flat-chested, right? Like, that actually exists.
And it's not just that adult women can be flat-chested, but fucking, it would almost be nice if they sexualized the disabled, because in a lot of like ways, people don't think disabled people can be sexy.
In real life, like, adult human women can have small boobs. We love all titties here on the Shoe on Head channel. All titties is good titties. End of story. Women fantasy. A boyfriend with depth and a loving, soft, deeply caring side of them. Men's fantasy. 12-year-old anime girl who looks and speaks like a toddler. Also notice how she's literally the shape and size of a child. Yuck. Have you people ever seen a child? No, you're all childless. Silly me. She's not even that short. She's just sitting. See, like, when they're laying side by side, she's like a full-grown adult woman. Why do these people look at this and immediately think of child rape? Go to therapy. And listen, I know with anime it can get a little weird, right? Like, excuse me, Poo Poo Pee Pee Chan is 2,000 years old and this is Poo Poo Pee Pee Chan. But this does not even look like a child. This looks like a cute woman. This is like a random rant, but I feel like there are no more cute women nowadays. You know what I mean? You have all, like, the Insta baddies, the e-thots, the e-girls, the muscle mommies, the boss babes, the boy babes. But I feel like every woman is just hot now. Which, by the way, I don't think is healthy for the male psyche whatsoever. You shouldn't wake up and be able to scroll through pictures of, like, the hottest woman you've ever seen in your life, like, 20 times before you've had, like, your morning cup of coffee.
Are you a little bit jealous there, Shu?
You shouldn't log in and immediately be one-shotted by 10 10s all day, as if that wouldn't make you go insane. As if that wouldn't make...
Those 10 10s, like, 7 out of those 10s are using filters. So fucking don't even
You crash out. Like, back in the day, you'd probably see, like, one fine dame on your bus ride to work, and you'd think about her for 40 years until the day you die. That's how it used to be. That's how it should be. Now every woman is like a crazy, hot, unobtainable Instagram goddess with the fattest of ass. Zoomers don't know how good we had it. You'd go to Blockbuster and the 21-year-old cashier behind the counter would be the most adorable woman you've ever seen. No Botox, no lip filler, just a pure soul, full of joy and whimsy. And now women are full of hate and SSRIs. But they're hot. They're hotter than they've ever been. They're hotter and more depressed than they've ever been in history. Sad. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, anime. I didn't take my Vyvanse today, could you tell? Men's fantasy. A big titty woman with the face of a 16-year-old that is useful for cooking, cleaning, and sex. Women's fantasy. Gets treated like a queen and a man who keeps tracks of our periods so he can take care of us.
What the fuck is wrong with these people?
I think I speak for a lot of women here when I say our fantasies do not, in fact, include men tracking our periods. Personally, if my husband was like, honey, just a reminder, you're in your luteal phase, I'm taking the kids. Men like to pretend they want this, and then they beat their wife when dinner isn't ready or their son when he's misbehaving. First of all, I'm sorry that happened to you. But there are, in fact, good men out there. I've seen them. Some may be in this very audience. Sorry, I couldn't keep a straight face. This is the shoe on head audience. You're all gremlins. Male fantasy equals a woman that can't run away from him. A woman that's dependent on him. Interesting. When men are involved, it's basic survival instinct to assume the worst. Men are guilty until they prove themselves innocent. You know what? I take my opinions back on free speech. I changed my mind. No more free speech. No more free speech until you bitches learn to behave. A woman's fantasy is a man who won't rape her, and a man's fantasy is raping a woman.
What the fuck is wrong with these women? Holy shit. I am glad that Shu managed to find these tweets so I don't have to.
I'm sorry, where is the rape, ma'am? Maybe that's how you see it, because you're brainwashed to hate men. So true. I hate how, but in reality, women are the real demons here. Oh, god damn it. We just want a happy relationship. Is it so much to ask for? Yes.
Yes, apparently
yes, it is. Oh look, more misogynistic gooner fantasy slop written by misogynistic gooner men. This is why 70% of anime is garbage. So here's the thing, that misogynistic gooner fantasy slop written by misogynistic gooner men was actually written by Saiko Tanabe, a woman.
Oopsies! Whoopsie daisies, you kind of fucked that up there, tweeter. So this was written by a woman. And wasn't 50 Shades of Grey also written by a woman? I'm pretty sure. Like, women write some depraved shit.
A woman wrote this story. And I feel like a very important detail everyone is sleeping on when they covered this was the fact that this is very much the female fantasy as well. A man loving you for who you are despite your flaws, literally sweeping you off your feet and carrying you around on adventures, helping you live out your dreams, face your fears, and supporting you through the good and bad times. You're going to sit here and tell me that's not the female fantasy too?
Those women will. Those women will tell you that's not the female fantasy because they want to be strong, independent women who don't need nobody to do nothing.
Is this not the basic female fantasy? Is this not the knight in shining armor coming to rescue you and falling in love with you? Why are there so many women so mad at this? Are men now the hopeless romantics? Yes. Are men now the ones yearning for a fairy tale romance? Is this why all the Disney remakes are like, she's not gonna be saved by the prince, she's a strong, independent woman? Meanwhile, men still want to be the prince, men still want to be the knight in shining armor. Yes. Men are like, I will save you from your monotonous 9-to-5 job. I will give you a house and babies. And women are like, no, I must be an actuarial consultant. Be gone, vile misogynist.
Pretty much. It's pretty much exactly like that. Where women have decided that relationships that are stable and loving and kind are just not okay. And they just don't want anything to do with it.
Is that what is occurring here? Also, that aside, there literally is a gender-swapped version of this story called Perfect World. It is a manga. Mango?
Mango?
Do not come for me, weebs. Men will statistically leave their wives and partners the moment they find out they're disabled or have a life-threatening condition. You're right, it is a fantasy. Actually, that study was debunked by the authors themselves, who admitted they did the math wrong.
Oops. Whoopsies. How can you,
Actually not much higher, but then again, even if it was, and it happens, I've seen it happen to people, it's terrible. Marriage should be through sickness and through health, but that's not really the point here. And the fact that so many people are focusing on the wheelchair part of this just proves that they just don't get it.
No, they have the ableism problem and the fetish problem, not the actual story itself or the men or the majority of men.
Ones of pure mind and pure soul get it. But these f***ing semen demons out here, they don't get it. But not all semen demons. The amount of people in comments who just don't get that men want a cute, loving girlfriend is beyond me. They call them creeps for wanting actual love and not a girl boss who only wants your money. Ah, thank you, a sane person. Hopefully the replies aren't full of people calling her a pick-me. Pick-me alert, least obvious pick-me. Me, pick me please. Hope he picks you, sis. Pick me. An incel could have written this.
Jealous woman?
Why are so many VTubers either pick-me's or racists? You mean why do so many female VTubers disagree with you? Why so many aren't towing the mainstream liberal feminist NPC line? Because they can. See, the most powerful weapon women have against other women is social ostracization. You don't want to be seen as a pick-me or a racist, so you keep your mouth shut in order to survive in female social circles. But in the cases of VTubers, virtual YouTubers, they're basically anonymous. They can say anything they want.
Or, if you don't give a flying fuck. This was great about like, I honestly could not care less if other women see me, and I've had other women accuse me of, and accuse Pink Hollow of fetishizing me or exploiting me, like with the paid page and all that. And it's like, I just don't fucking care if women think that about me. That says more about them than it does about
They're
me.
basically wearing a mask. They're free from the chains of the eternal HR longhouse. But apparently even being anonymous online does not save them, because they still get doxxed for simply not hating men. Lovely. Maybe I should save this rant for a different video someday. Moving on. Men are why we can't have nice things, by the way. First of all, men make all the things.
Right?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Also, I just realized it was a man saying that. It was a whole ass man saying men are why we can't have nice things.
Jesus Christ. Why do some men just hate themselves so much? It's sad.
I don't deserve this trophy. This is for you, sir. This is for you. I'm not worthy. Listen, I make women jokes. I'm very critical of feminism and propaganda aimed at women. But you will never catch me in a million years saying some shit like women are why we can't have nice things. No. I have a mom. I have female family members. I have female friends. Maybe one day I'll have a daughter. Women make the world a beautiful place, and like men, can be flawed and deserve criticism, like anyone else. But there's something genuinely so cucked about people who put down their own gender or race. Oh god, race. Self-hating white people. Don't get me started on self-hating white people.
Yeah. I personally know self-hating white people, and it's sad.
White people are so evil. I hate being white. White people can't dance. White people food is so gross. You're not getting into Wakanda, bro. You're not getting invited to the cookout. Enough. But yeah, women were not the only ones who had a problem with this. There were a lot of men who didn't quite relate to this being the average male fantasy. It's fine to love the disabled. I didn't need to remind you that. But to glorify it, this anime is certainly Marxist propaganda. The movie is about—
What the fuck? What right-wing bullshit is that? Fucking right Marxist propaganda?
Taking a job as her caretaker, and when he learns of her dreams, he makes it his mission to help her dreams come true. So it is Marxist propaganda to help a disabled person pursue their dreams?
Yes.
Yeah, it's woven in.
It is.
Empathy is the target of propaganda. Marxism is when girl in wheelchair. I love this. Empathy is the target of propaganda. Every piece of media that makes you feel empathy is communism.
Yep, cause emotions are communism. Socialism is, empathy is socialism. You can't feel for people.
Political brain rot. If you're at the point where you see this, and you're thinking of communism, you need to log off. You are unwell. I'm sorry, but when I reproduce, I don't want a high probability of my offspring being mentally or physically retarded. We need a better class of incels.
Physically retarded? How? Okay, okay.
I don't want a high probability of my offspring being mentally or physically retarded. We need a better class of incels whose bar is higher than the retarded. She's not retarded, she has a spinal injury that's not genetic. Also,
no, it's not. Like, do you realize how many people are disabled that aren't disabled by a genetic condition? Like, holy fuck.
This is LARP. I love how everyone is just kind of having like a normal conversation about this clip, and this guy just comes out of nowhere like, I would never put my pure white seed in such a vile creature. Yeah. Like, you absolutely know this guy has a non-white girlfriend. They all these like I hate white people women always have white boyfriends. Yep. All these I hate non-white people boys always have non-white girlfriends. Yep. I don't know what it is, but I've seen it too many times. I guarantee you when this man logs off of his Black Sun Roman statue Twitter account, he's clapping Latina booty cheeks. My fantasy is not being a simp, but okay. Fellas, is it simping to love a woman? Nah.
That's it, Pink Hollow. You're a simp because you're with me and I'm blind.
This is not the male fantasy. That man is a beta male. If she wasn't in a wheelchair, she would leave him for Chad. Fellas, is it beta to love a woman? This is not my fantasy. This is some gay shit, to be honest.
Fellas, gay?
Is it gay to love a woman? What?
It's gay? It's gay? Oh my god. Is that Myron Gaines fanboy?
What pussy does to a motherfucker. Brother, I've seen what pussy does to a motherfucker. And it's far worse. The average male fantasy is taking care of their crippled wife. I don't think I've ever had that fantasy before. I thought it was gonna be about going on some quest to kill the dragon to win the princess or something. It is. That is the average male fantasy. But there are no dragons to slay. There are no princesses to save. But there is that little old lady in the grocery store who can't quite reach that top shelf. There's that heavy box the pretty girl you work with can't quite lift herself. There's that jar of tomato sauce your wife can't quite open. There's that Lego set your little son can't quite put together himself. Or there is this paraplegic girl who wants to see the ocean. This is the Princess and the Dragon story.
It is. It literally is. Helping your partner navigate through life is the Princess and the Dragon story. And for people to demonize that, like, want from either side is really sad.
Story. And despite what many are told, men do have a lot of love to give. And they want some kind of excuse or mechanism to show that love. In a world where men expressing themselves is either seen as toxic or gay. And one way of expressing that love is solving problems. Men fucking love solving problems. Yeah. I don't know what it is. They also love reading Wikipedia articles. The amount of times I walked over and my husband is reading a random fucking Wikipedia article about like the world's tallest buildings or like a random battle in World War II. I didn't know if this was autism or what, but apparently it's a man thing. Anyway, yes, men love solving problems. And in a world that makes them feel useless, makes them feel like they have no purpose, men desperately feel like they need to prove their worth. They are desperately looking for a purpose in life. So it is not at all shocking to me that the modern young man is seeing a clip like this and longing for this.
Yeah.
A lot of
it, like, you don't have to see the wheelchair, and like the wheelchair doesn't matter. And I'm glad that there's a story, like a movie anime story about this type of topic that talks about disabled people without glorifying it or fetishizing.
A lot of modern men don't have a chance to prove themselves, to make something of their lives. They don't have a chance to provide anything for anyone because they don't have anything to provide and they don't have anyone. They are doing everything their grandfathers did, but seeing none of the results. They're lost. What can they provide? And as I said earlier, her being in a wheelchair is the protector and provider instinct taken to a extreme. And yes, it is a fantasy, considering if you ask anyone who's actually in a wheelchair, they know it's not all butterflies and rainbows, and they know that it's hard on relationships. Yeah. It can be difficult on their partner. But just like in the movie, it's not—
Any disability can be difficult on an able-bodied partner. It's like, it's not easy for Pink Hollow to be with me. But that doesn't mean it's like a fetish. Yeah.
It's not shown as butterflies and rainbows. Josie feels like a burden, but towards the end of the movie, the guy takes on that burden. Not because he gets something in return, but because it's his duty. Because it makes her happy, which makes him happy in return. Loyalty, duty, virtue, acts of service, big or small. Men live for that shit. And yes, these are stereotypes. Not everyone fits into these boxes, blah, 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 blah. But for the most part, it's true. When many men look at this relationship, that is what they see. And a lot of modern women are looking at this relationship and being disgusted because, in a way, it's the complete inverse of the strong, independent woman they've been sold. They've been told they need to be.
And the thing is that to be a strong woman doesn't mean to be alone. You can be, it takes strength to admit when you have wronged your partner or fucked up in some way, and to own that and change it. It takes strength to navigate a relationship and be a good partner. It's like, being a good partner does not mean that you are subservient to your partner. It means that it has a give and take, a come and go.
The modern woman crafted by modern Disney for modern audiences. Unlike the Hollywood crafted modern woman, this woman does need her man. She is not strong and she's not independent, at least physically. This doesn't mean she's like an empty vessel with no thoughts or freedom. No, in fact, in the movie, Josie does roll away from him a few times. It is a fantasy not because of a power imbalance, but because the man has a tangible purpose, and the woman is willingly and lovingly letting him fulfill that purpose.
Because I can depend on you. I know that if I ever feel frightened, I can just reach out to you.
Men simply want something—
That's not an ableism or a disability fetish. That's a relationship goal where you should be able to depend on your partner and reach out to them if you feel afraid or sad.
Not something good to die for, to make it beautiful to live. This manifests in a lot of ways, but the most common is having a loving partner and or a family. Something unobtainable to many people nowadays. So yes, literally one of the most normal things ever is becoming a fantasy. Sad. Also, men will deny this, but they absolutely have a biological clock. It may not hit in your teens or your 20s, but one day you're going to have a dream. You have a little daughter making you pancakes with your wife in the morning, and you're not going to be able to get it out of your head. And that is the male biological clock.
Yep. She's not wrong. She's not every human has a biological clock. It's not just a female thing where it's
Everything
like,
you do,
oh,
the money you make working that grading 9 to 5.
what are you doing, stupid thing? Stupid computer? What was I saying? It's not just women who are wanting kids, and like men have a clock too. All right, where are we here? Let's get into our cop videos. How a woman's plan to get back at her ex ended in disaster. I watched this already, but I want to watch it again because it's crazy. I watched it off stream. Here we go. Let's switch back over here to our shared screen.
On the evening of September 12, 2024, a deputy responded to a residence in Leelanau County, Michigan, following a report of property damage classified as malicious destruction. The caller reported that his ex-wife, 41-year-old Jessica Perkins, had driven past his house several times throughout the day before pulling into his driveway, where she struck one of his fence posts. While he did not wish to press charges, he expressed concern that she might be driving under the influence. As the deputy spoke with the caller at his front door, Jessica drove up near the residence. The deputy quickly returned to his squad car, activated his emergency lights, and attempted a traffic stop. Although he briefly lost sight of her, he quickly relocated her on a nearby dead-end road and positioned his vehicle directly in front of hers.
So he's got her, he's blocking her now. Okay.
Hello.
Hi.
What's going on today?
Not much. I was literally trying to get a hold of my ex-husband, and he was like, leave, so I left.
Well, when you pulled in there, you hit a pole or something like that. You remember doing that?
Yeah, I got the whole back of my car.
Okay, and where did you go after that?
I left and went to...
Like, she's slurring a little bit,
Okay.
but she's not
I had to go
slurring
to the
too bad.
bathroom, so...
Gotcha. Okay. Well, how much have you had to drink today?
We're not going to talk about that. I'm not going to tell you that.
Okay, well...
I'm not going to talk about that, and I'm not going to tell you that. Well, that means you've been drinking.
Where are you coming from?
Cleaning houses.
Cleaning houses?
Yeah, that's why there's...
Well,
you're
obviously under the influence of something.
I've been smoking a lot of weed.
Okay, is that what you got in the vape there?
That one, no.
Okay.
I wouldn't do that right in front of you. I'm a
Okay.
fucking dumbass.
Sure
like,
you would.
Okay, so you know...
You and I just met, so...
No, I know, but you also know that my father is Ron Plumondon, and like literally...
Your father-in-law?
How does he know that? He just met you and you didn't tell him. So how is he supposed to know that your father-in-law is some person? I don't know.
Yeah. Do you mind stepping out for me?
4511, I'm going to start 417 location.
You're afraid of that?
Yeah.
Why are you afraid? I'm a nice guy.
I don't know, you're scary, and you have like rings on your fingers, and...
I got rings on my fingers. I'm married.
The real fetish in fantasy is wanting to hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil with a blind, deaf enemy.
And you have like rings on your fingers, and...
I got rings on my fingers.
No,
I'm married.
not the rings.
That's scary. No, you're gonna hit me
power?
with them.
No, I'm not gonna hit you at all. Why would I need to hit you?
Guys do when they have rings on their fingers.
That doesn't make any sense.
Not to you.
Do you have an ID with you?
I have nothing. I'm probably actually gonna make you chase me. I'm not
Why
gonna
the
lie to
fuck
you.
would
Okay.
you even
Well,
say
go.
that? So she's planning on making this. She's planning on making him chase
You're not
her.
doing
Why
that.
would you say
Nope.
that?
Go ahead and hop out of the vehicle then. Go ahead and hop out of the vehicle.
I'm not your girl.
You don't tell
You
me
don't
that you're
get
gonna
to-
cause a chase
No,
like that.
you're not telling me that.
Go ahead and
You're
hop
not
out of
hurting me.
hop out of the
I'm
vehicle.
not getting out.
Get
you
out.
literally just accused me of shit and are trying
Get
to
out of
hurt
the
me.
vehicle.
You got me f***ed up.
You're gonna get out of the vehicle.
I'm not actually going to get
Leo,
out.
4517
I'll
is on.
deal with you. I'm actually going to drive away.
Hands on.
She doesn't sound scared at all. Like, you know how she's like, you're scaring me, you have rings on your fingers, blah, 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 blah. She doesn't sound scared at all. She sounds like, just
She just drove into my vehicle.
What's wrong with your car, Daddy?
Copy, just drove into your vehicle.
White Toyota.
Why is she calling him Daddy? That's very disturbing.
Sedan.
Jessica then continued to flee at speeds of 90 miles per hour, driving erratically while passing other vehicles.
Copy, 45817. Are you in pursuit now?
In pursuit.
Give me a direction when you get it.
Gonna be northbound.
Southbound, Fort Connor.
4517, she just wrecked. Send EMS.
Oh.
Check that.
So she wrecked
She's recovered
once.
it. There's a vehicle south of Bingham. I don't know if she struck that.
Eventually, she failed to navigate a curve and destroyed her vehicle.
And now she's wrecked. We're north of Bingham on the curve. 641. Send EMS.
As he approached the vehicle, he observed that Jessica was unconscious and trapped inside.
Are you okay? Are you okay? Talk to me. Talk to me. We all 4517, we got entrapment.
Drive away, you dumb cunt.
Yeah, I'm glad you weren't hit, sir. I gotta try to get her out of there.
Okay, any help or anything?
Potentially. I'll keep you on here as a witness. Why don't you pull your vehicle either just in front of mine or off further to the right so people can see the lights. Yeah, I'm right here. Hey,
idiot.
Perkins, are you bleeding?
I'm sorry.
Are you bleeding?
What's happening? I don't know.
Okay, well, you're talking to me. That's a good thing.
I was scared. You did not sound scared.
All right,
at
ambulance
all.
is coming.
It's fine.
Ambulance is coming.
Sorry. I'm so sorry.
You just keep talking to me. What hurts?
You're not a bad person.
Jessica, what hurts?
My mouth is bleeding bad.
Your mouth is bleeding? Okay. I'm just waiting on the ambulance. She's talking to me. She's okay right now. Go ahead and you guys are good. Thank you. Just keep talking to me, okay?
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that to you.
Yes,
well,
you did.
Do it to me. You did it to
you absolutely meant to do that because you literally said, "I am going to make you chase me. I am going to drive away now." That and you sounded fucking like defiant as all hell.
to yourself.
I don't give a fuck if I die. Honestly, I don't care. My mom was a cop for Grant Traverse County for a long time. So thank God Civic is retired because he would literally be on my.
All right. Hey, the biggest thing. What? I just want to get a look at you.
I can't feel anything. That's the weirdest thing. My left leg is moving, so I know I'm not paralyzed right now.
All right. Hey.
But I'm really.
How about you give me your wrist,
really
all right? Give me your wrist.
I really fucked up. I'm
You're
sorry.
okay. I'm gonna try and take your pulse.
Yeah,
Okay?
you did really fuck up.
I'm not like this.
I'm sorry for you. Don't be sorry for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry for you, cause now you've got fucking lots of charges and you're hurt.
I didn't care.
Is there anyone else in the car?
No, I had nobody. I would never have driven like that if somebody else was in the car.
Well, the ambulance is gonna be here in just a little bit.
I should have just got out when you tried to get me out the first time, and then I got scared and I ran.
I know.
I was gonna be Can you get Morgovich for me?
He's not working right now.
But if you tell him that it's me and he went through the academy with my mother, I promise you he's gonna come here if he finds out that I did this and did this to you guys.
While speaking with her, she suddenly lost consciousness once more.
It's like she thinks
You'll be
dropping
okay,
names
okay?
is gonna save her.
Hey, Angela? Hello? Miss Perkins? Perkins? We gotta get her out of there. She might have just lost consciousness. You want me to bust that? Yep. Okay.
Glasses down.
What's that?
Glasses down.
Okay.
The female just lost consciousness.
You don't want him coming through. You do not want him coming through. Nope. You do not want him coming through.
Hey, talk to me. Talk to me.
Affirmative.
You want something on the backside, Jimmy, to support the car?
I mean, if Bruce can get it stable, I think,
Can you make it stable?
Jessica.
Jessica, look at me. Hey, right here.
You good for a second, Mary? She's talking to him. I will not be home anytime soon.
Nope.
Okay.
Hit me head on. I was riding this way. I just coming up that curve.
Yeah.
Were you chasing her?
Yeah.
Okay. And she just was going right at me.
Yep.
She saw it, and she actually.
She almost took you out.
Pretty close, and then she
tried to correct from taking you out. Is that what?
Yeah.
Okay.
She just tailspin. You saw it.
So she almost hit that guy and
2 minutes.
I figured probably
100
miles an hour.
She was probably about 90. Yeah. All right. Very good, sir. Thank you for stopping.
Yeah. Well, hey, hopefully she makes it.
Yep. Mary, while they're on this, can I get you on photographs? Let's take some good ones from both ways.
And there you can see where she hit the guardrail.
Follow the tracks. I don't know if she hit the guardrail. Okay.
I don't know
What are you
doing? I don't feel good.
Okay.
I don't feel good all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, you're probably very concussed. You are, yeah. No wonder you don't feel good.
About 90.
90.
Probably lost consciousness for about 5 minutes.
Sorry.
Yep. Is your ID in the car?
Probably grab my purse.
Okay.
We're gonna.
Yup.
You all going? Yep.
Hey.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm cut up in a few areas, but
You need any medical attention? Okay.
I think it's just a scratch.
How did you get that from her, like fighting with you? Or? Yeah.
No, I think breaking through the glass.
Okay.
Sorry, boss. Do you have like a name or anything?
Jessica Perkins.
Jessica Perkins.
Jessica was subsequently taken to the hospital to treat her injuries and undergo a legal blood draw, which later revealed a blood alcohol concentration of 0.234.
Jesus Christ! This is 3 times the legal limit.
Yeah, I think so. I got little shards of glass, but I'll just wash it off. Run to the house and wash it off.
For what it's worth, she smelled like booze.
Yeah, she was under the influence of something. Hardly any damage, just marks from her ramming it.
Yeah.
My window pop did not work. My cute little window pop. Son of a biscuit.
Got it? Did you find some more glass?
Found some more.
Well, you know you're human. You got blood in you.
Doggone it, Mary. Why couldn't we just go home?
I know. I'm like, he shouldn't have gone looking for her.
Well, I stopped in there, and then the RP's like, there she goes right there. Front, nose to nose. Doesn't look like she busted it up. Just scuffs. Ouch. I still am finding glass in my fingers. Doesn't look too bad.
Sucks, dude. Poor cop. He's pulling glass out.
I thought it'd be
everywhere.
a lot worse. Well, there was a cyclist that was headed northbound, and she corrected because he was there. She almost took him out.
You got some gas in this deal?
No, I have camera here. I wonder if anybody took any larcenies recently, because there's just a ton of jewelry in here. I'm not
See, she said she was a house cleaner. I bet you
seeing a wallet or anything. There's a ton of jewelry in here. It could be just her selling it, but
Or she sells them online.
there's just a bunch of cleaning supplies back here. As long as there's no ID in there. Just more jewelry. Came in sideways right here. I mean, these are pieces of her car, so.
So would she have been
She, that's got to be first impact here. You think that's first impact into the rocks?
That would make sense with the marks.
Front end here, and then she gets turned like this. Front end this way. We're just playing at this point.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you guys are doing cops or not.
Alright, yeah, I think I'm good. Thank you.
Stay safe. I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, thank you.
For what it's worth, I'm on the traffic.
Tools.
How the hell did you see that?
I don't know. I don't know who else has random tools up there. I mean, I don't know. I assume it's probably flew out of the trunk.
You need to put it in there. If it's not her, she'll just sell it and pawn it and get money out of it.
This is a bunch of tools.
Alright. Case closed.
Case closed. Alright, Chris, I'm gonna head for the office.
Crazy.
As a result, Jessica was charged with felony, operating while intoxicated, third offense, destruction of police property, fleeing eluding an officer, assaulting a police officer, and habitual offender.
Damn. So three driving while intoxicated. A habitual offender. That's
About
not
5
good.
months later, Jessica pleaded guilty of operating while intoxicated and fleeing eluding an officer. The remaining charges were dismissed. She was ultimately sentenced to a prison term of 2 to 5 years and ordered to pay more than $1,500 in restitution for the damage caused to the deputy's patrol vehicle.
I'm sick of hearing people getting like light prison sentences on these things, because they do some pretty heinous shit sometimes, and they just get like misdemeanor charges, or their charges are dismissed but read in, and it's like, what the hell is going on here? It's absolutely insane. Oh my goodness. Where are we here? We'll do... What do I have here? Oh! Where are we here? Cops shot in their faces during ambush. Let's take a look at this one. I think this is a donut operator. We'll see here. Hold on. Okay.
Sheriff's office.
Hey.
Yep.
She's getting some water right now.
Sheriff's office.
Hey. She's getting some water right now. He's over there hiding by the pool.
Jeremy, you run from... Whoa!
Hi everyone, Donut here. Welcome to another episode of Don't Turn Your Back on That Trailer. Today's main video starts like a lot of these do. Cops being called out to a rural domestic violence situation. Very dangerous. They were probably hoping it was just some shirtless dude who drank a little bit too much Miller Lite and is yelling at the moon. Instead, they pull up on what turns out to be a backyard horror show involving a rifle, a swimming pool, and a local Rambo hiding in the bushes.
Oh, good. This sounds like fun.
Where's the sniper? Two deputies end up taking rounds, one ends up running blind, but the third pulls off a stealth kill behind the tree line. Not to mention, we're going to go into a really weird story involving a love triangle between three dudes in England. Let's talk about our sponsor first. Turtle Beach, what did you send me? 2 Stealth 700 headsets? All right, listen here, folks. These things are pretty cool. They sound incredible, feel great, and quite recently, they have made me a vegetable on my couch playing my PlayStation 5. And if you couldn't tell, I'm kind of a PC gamer also. What this means is that with one of these headsets, I can seamlessly switch between my PCs or my PlayStation 5 downstairs on my TV. Whether I'm being a lazy piece of shit on my couch or up here gaming on my PCs and I really need to hear those footsteps in the next room, one headset can do the job. The Stealth 700 has the industry's first ever crossplay dual wireless transmitter system. Like I said, you can easily switch between your consoles or PCs. Another badass feature these things have is if you're playing on your console, you can connect to your phone to listen to music or take a call. At the same time, listen to your favorite songs while gaming on the Stealth 700. Not later.
Nice!
Keyboards and mice. So much cool stuff over at turtlebeach.com. So I've already mentioned how awesome the audio quality is. The mic quality is just as good. Oh, where's the mic? Check this out. Boop. You'll get crystal clear communication with all your teammates right here. Dude, these things are comfortable and they sound great. I was never a big fan of wireless headsets because battery life. On one charge, these things have 80 hours of battery life. With quick charge, so you don't have to wait hours for them to charge up before gaming. And right now, you can get 10% off of them by going to turtlebeach.com and using the code DONUT. That's right, 10% off your first purchase by using the code DONUT at turtlebeach.com. Get the ultimate immersive gaming experience with Turtle Beach today. Before we get into our main video, I gotta warn you, this next story is so bizarre and cartoonishly horrifying. This one comes straight out of the UK, the land of illegal memes, where I just read over 1,000 people have been arrested this year so far for saying things on the internet. The UK is now apparently the home to pornographic gay cannibals. That's a movie I don't want to watch. I will not reference the space movie from 1992. A Colombian porn star is currently on trial in London for allegedly murdering an elderly gay couple that he used to collaborate with. Here's the rundown. This guy allegedly whacked one of the men in the head with a hammer, stabbed the other repeatedly, and then decided, well, guess I better start my own British edition of Dexter, because what came next? He chopped them up, put their heads in a freezer, and stuffed the rest of their parts into a suitcase. Then he
Okay then. What the fuck is going on here?
Rolls on down to the Clifton Suspension Bridge in Bristol, about 100 miles away, with, of course, the suitcases of doom. A random cyclist spots him and says, oh, look, it's a tourist with some luggage. Sir, that's not a tourist, and that luggage is not something you want to see, bud. Inside the bags, yeah, you guessed it, and somehow it still gets weirder. The guy, after committing the murders, allegedly filmed himself singing and dancing. Because nothing says mentally stable like filming a TikTok video where you're dancing around after stuffing your gay clients' heads into a cooler.
Wow, I'm rather speechless.
Prosecutors say that he did try to drain their bank accounts, made a PowerPoint with their financial information, and even Googled serial killers of London, as well as how much money does a used chest freezer cost.
Okay. How you are not doing well at keeping your tracks covered.
You're trying to get caught. He's already admitted to manslaughter, just not murder. Like the two elderly guys tripped, fell into pieces, and then put themselves into the refrigerator in the suitcases.
Yes.
He didn't mean to do that. So yeah, that's a weird one. Let's move on to another story. Let's talk about Houston, also known as the Dodge Charger of Texas. Here's what's going on in that fine metro soup of bad decision making and traffic. A teenager is on parole for murder. Yep, murder. Oh, and while he is on parole, he decided to celebrate his little bit of freedom by beating up an elderly woman. To be specific.
So wait, he killed somebody and somehow got on parole, and then he chose to beat up an elderly lady. Lovely. Okay, carry on.
An 81-year-old woman in a parking lot. She's just loading her car. Kid walks up, grabs her by her lanyard, picks her up, throws her on the ground like it's WWE. Then he takes off in her car and immediately crashes into 7 other vehicles in the parking lot. 7.
You're the man. I drive like a woman.
And here's where you really start to question if Houston even is a real place. This kid is out on parole for capital murder. When he was 14, he shot a guy 8 times, of course, killing him. Wow. And he had already had a rap sheet full of robberies. Somehow the system looked at him and said, yeah, give him another shot. He's got a GED.
Jesus Christ. How can you even what is wrong with Houston?
It's all right to me.
Atlanta, Texas. What are we doing? He could have been in prison for 20 years, but after his original sentencing, they gave him 2 years.
Is he doing it again? He's doing it again.
Maybe now they'll revoke his parole. I do hope 81-year-old Sandra Glenn makes a full recovery. Hopefully this dude sees a little bit of justice after this. And once again, I f***ing hate the legal system. Let's move on to an incident that, believe it or not, makes a little bit more sense than what we just covered. It's got cops, bullets, and something that Houston seems to have misplaced: consequences. Okay. Logan County, Oklahoma, April 2nd, 2025. Judging by this call, this place is the Florida of the Midwest. Deputies are responding to a domestic call. Nothing out of the ordinary, right? Wrong. Deputies roll up this charming little slice of America and knock on the front door. A woman casually lets them in and lets them know that her ex is hiding by the pool. Not a he ran out back or yeah, he's acting a little weird. Just he's hiding by the pool like a sneaky little raccoon who just drinks beer and doesn't pay.
Yeah, could you imagine? You're just like, yeah, my crazy ex is over there by the pool. Can you go get him?
Child support.
Hello, Sheriff's Office.
Hey, she's getting some water right now. He's over there hiding by the pool.
Our first deputy starts heading around the side of the house, calls out the suspect's name, and that's when this happens.
By the pool. Where's the pool? Jeremy, you run for... Whoa!
Oh, shit. He just pulled out a gun. So he shot twice at the cops.
County shots fired. I'm hit.
One's hit. And he's still going.
Gotta give me some units out here.
Boom, gets hit, ambushed mid-sentence, just casually walking around the corner. He goes down bleeding, calls for backup. Meanwhile, Deputy 2 takes a hit and scrambles for cover. These dudes are currently leaking and are trying to coordinate and figure out what the hell's going on.
So, yeah, they both took shots. Okay.
Jeremy, you run for... Whoa! Ow!
Johnny, I'm hit.
You got hit in the face.
And credit where it's due, they don't panic. They're trying to put this together while finding cover. As they're getting the cover, they're communicating and looking for the shooter.
Where are you hit?
These dudes took bullets to the face and keep on going. It's all
Jesus Christ. Face shot. That shit's scary. Good kudos to them.
almost weird how calm they are during this. Balls of steel.
How are you so calm?
But now we have an even bigger problem.
He's still up moving.
That is really bad news for these injured officers. But we do have some good news. Let's meet Deputy number 3. Backup has arrived. He rolls up, gets behind some excellent cover, a tree, and starts scanning with his rifle.
Do you have visual on him?
I don't. Can you guys?
No, I don't. Tom, what's your injuries?
We both have facial.
Okay, can you still see?
No, I can't.
Okay, where can we get you to cover? Are you in cover?
102, there's no cover back here.
So now we got 2 deputies down, the guy's somewhere behind the pool, and the 3rd deputy trying to find again who may have just landed the shot that ended it. That's the worst part. After the shot, nobody really knows where the guy is. Cue the call for the drone. Because nothing says rural SWAT like, hey, get that DJI up in the air. We are searching for meth gremlins. They locate the dude with the drone, but he's dead. Good shot, officer. Turns out the guy took 1 shot from officer number 3 who was posted up behind the tree. Suspect then got off 1 last shot before collapsing. Turns out these officers have been to this property multiple times for domestic disturbance. From the radio traffic, it sounds like they even know who the suspect is.
As soon as I showed up, Tom and Nero were walking up to the house. I pulled up back here where my unit is. He stood up, started firing at them. I just grabbed my rifle and shot.
62.
Good shot from deputy number 3. Holy shit. Good reactions.
Got sturdy on that fence and shot him. So.
We know this guy, though.
He had a rep, he had warrants, this was a bad dude on a predictable trajectory. Even while bleeding out, everyone did their job, didn't get injured any further, and went home that day. Suspect is definitely dead. All in all, in this situation, both deputies survived their wounds and 1 turd was flushed. That's all I got for you fine people today. If you want to help support the channel, donutoperator.com, head on over to pepperbox.tv, or follow me on every social media platform where I will be streaming full-time soon. Until next time, please have a fantastic day.
And that was some scary shit. Like, can you imagine just trying to come up for a domestic violence case or calls? Every cop will tell you they're like the scariest call because nobody knows what's gonna happen. Oh my goodness. Oh, I think we've made it to 1 o'clock. I think what I'm going to do is I am going to keep with the nighttime stream because I seem to reach more people, but I just wanted to see what would happen if I streamed during the day. So I will be gaming later tonight, playing some MK, but I'll be back tomorrow evening with some just chatting. Probably around 8:30 or so, just so I'm not up forever. So go give me a follow over on kick.com/blindpress, twitch.tv/blindpress. You can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/blindpress. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Friday. I will see you guys later tonight. If you want to come watch me play some Mortal Kombat and hear how the accessibility works and see it, and just have a chat, that would be awesome. Have a wonderful rest